So is this Stan's going to try to
playing the pills.
Playing the pills. So I got this event that I'm doing with Loyola Lacrosse today, and I utterly and completely forgot. So I leave today, like it's a normal day. I'm wearing a Stevenson shirt because I'm doing a Stevenson game later.
That's a great idea.
Well, that part, not really.
That's
kind of
like the guy
yeah.
showing up
yeah.
at the Oregon Duck.
Oh, right, the charred duck. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I walk out the door. Everything's fine. My wife and I exchange Valentine's Day cards. We're having a lovely day. And I'm in the car, and I say, "Oh, yes." Because I forgot.
Stan?
Yes, exactly what I said.
Coming.
I said, "Oh, Stan." No, that this event that I'm doing with Loyola this afternoon is jacket and tie. And so then I have to go racing back into the house. And you won't believe this, but I don't wear a jacket and tie very frequently. It's not like
really?
I know.
Maybe this is a wake-up call then.
Yeah. Shocking.
Start the.
So I have to go through the whole process and where am I? The whole thing. So yes, I walked in here at 9:59 this morning after getting in the car, starting to leave.
And don't you look dapper?
I hope I look presentable. I'll just take that, given the circumstances.
You know, by the way, Griffin, that would be a great a penalty. You know, when he loses a bet, would be he has to come in for like 3 weeks. In coat and tie.
No, that would be
fully dressed up.
Pure hell. Pure hell. So, hi, good morning. It is a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Press Box's Chief Grand Poobah, Stan the Fan Charles, is back in studio with us. Coming up in a couple of minutes, Shon Morris. He was on the call last night as Maryland got a very nice road win at Nebraska.
Hard earned.
Yes. Not 0 bench points. 0.
Well, that's what they say about basketball.
Absolute 0. None. Not 1 bench point.
You don't need bench players.
Well, is that what they say? Towson got some bench points from Nenda Tark last night.
Towson seems to
just
always
keep doing
use
the same
their bench.
thing.
Yeah.
Keep doing the same thing. Yeah, nice wins for Maryland and Towson. UMBC got a win. It might be a little too late for that.
Well,
not a great
still
night
alive.
for the whips and the charms.
No.
Just tough,
No.
tough week for them. And also for the Maryland women. But yeah, other than that, a good night last night.
It's all about Towson and Maryland men's basketball.
Those are the hopes. Shon Morris joins us in just a couple of minutes. Tell us more about it. Later on this morning, Danielle Allentuck. She's down in Sarasota. It was a pleasant news, unlike when spring training started last year, and it was just, hey, remember all that hope and excitement you had? This year, it was pleasant injury updates. Like Felix Bautista, apparently, opening day is in the mix for Felix Bautista, which would be wonderful, particularly if he's still Felix Bautista at that point. That would be really good news. So we'll talk with Danielle Allentuck about all of the word that came out as Orioles players and Mike Elias met with the media for the first time down in Sarasota. And also this morning, a former Oriole who just announced his retirement from baseball, Richard Bleier. Bummed for Richard Bleier because he spent 4 years. Like, this was the spot, really, for him in his career. And it just happened to be mathematically the worst, 4 years that you could have been in Baltimore during this stretch, team-wise. Great guy, helpful piece.
Yeah, I liked Richard Bleier.
All of those things. Just a real bummer that these were the 4 years that he ended up being in Baltimore, were the 4 years that it kind of stunk to be in Baltimore. But we'll talk to Richard Bleier about his decision to announce his retirement from baseball this week.
How old's Richard? 36? 35, 36.
Like
I wonder what really prompted him. In other words, it couldn't be for a loss of stuff. You know, I mean...
Well, not a dramatic loss.
Right,
yeah,
right. It's not like his velo dropped 5 miles an hour.
And he wasn't like a triple-digit guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll ask him. We'll get that answer. We'll find it out. So that's all coming up.
Can't wait for you to ask him that.
Richard Bleier, by the way, 37. Actually.
37. Oh, and then that explains it.
It's
over for him.
It's over. God, you gotta turn things over to the young guys like Charlie Morton. That's the way that it's got to work. Max Scherzer officially back with the Dodgers as of yesterday. Signed a 1-year deal. No, not Max Scherzer. Sorry, Clayton Kershaw. Yeah. Jesus. Stan, I'm running late, buddy. I'm running late. My brain is going to – it's going to show up any moment now.
You know you're wearing Stevenson garb.
No.
Yes.
No, I was.
And I'm sure Stevenson's glad to hear how quickly you tossed them aside.
No, I'll put that back on when I show up at Stevenson tonight. I just have another event before then that I have to be dressed differently.
You're almost like a Major League Baseball player, just deciding what uniform you got to wear that day.
Kind of like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. So,
Except the paychecks are less.
Slightly.
Yeah.
Slightly. Appreciated nonetheless, but slightly. Stan, you had a busy week this week.
I did.
Did a couple of shows.
I did?
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you remember?
Yeah. I had John W. Miller on.
I remember.
Ross Grimsley was unable to get Wi-Fi out in he was out in California, in L.A., so he couldn't get Wi-Fi. So it was just me solo with John W. Miller talking about The Last Manager, the Earl Weaver book, and we had a terrific conversation. And then I was happy to have him on the air, A.J. Gersh, the new broadcaster over on Fox 45. And A.J. is a terrific guy, went to Syracuse and did a number of camps that really set him up to be really ready to hit the ground running at Syracuse. And he's doing a good job over on Fox 45.
You can find those shows right now, facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Click on the videos tab. Go to youtube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video. Always brought to you by the Costas Inn, Stan's Shows. All right, big win last night for Maryland on the road at Nebraska. Joining us now to tell us a little bit more about it, he was on the call for last night's game on Big Ten Network. He is Northwestern great Shon Morris, and he's back with us here on GCR. Shon, it's Glenn and Stan here in Baltimore. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning. We really appreciate it.
No, happy to do so. Really good game last night.
Yeah.
That was an impressive win by Maryland because that is a tough place to play.
It's crazy that you say that because I kept feeling that. And it always seems like it's been that way too, Shon. Where no matter, and I don't want to say Nebraska hasn't been good because they've been competitive, but this is not a perennial basketball power, and yet it feels like that community, that place, rallies and they are into it. It is always a difficult trip.
Yeah, that's a really good observation because it doesn't. I mean, obviously, the better they are, the more vociferous the crowd is,
right.
But they still turn out, and that's a really quality win because they're putting 13, 14, 15,000 people in there, and that is not an easy place to come in there and play, especially since they'd won 4 in a row because they were kind of left for dead. They won 4 in a row and kind of got back on track, and I think they thought that was a really good opportunity looking at it from Nebraska's standpoint. If they would have been able to beat Maryland, it might have, in their mind, offset a couple of earlier losses at home that they, thought they should have had, especially USC and, Rutgers. But that's a great, really good win for Maryland. And that's the first time I'd seen them in person. And Derik Queen is so enjoyable to watch.
I want to get to him if I could. Shon, I just want to know, how many games have you been a part of, ever, that involved a team winning with 0 bench points? 0, none, not a single one.
I'm sure sometime it might have happened, but I would have to go deep in the Rolodex to pull that one out. It's they, and when I was talking to the coach, Coach Willard at the shoot-around, he's like, look, we're just not real deep. I think he thought he might have gotten something production-wise, but it wasn't a real shock, I don't think, to him, but I think it was a shock they didn't get any scoring off the bench. And, they also won. They especially early on, they usually dominate the turnover battle, and they were losing that, and they still found a way to win.
Getting back to why Nebraska is such a tough place to play, because they're historically not that good, and I go back to sort of following them when Danny Nee was coaching at Nebraska. It always seems like when you go there, it's almost like your team is on another planet or something like that you're just not on the same footing that you have at other places.
Well, I think part of it is that, honestly, the people here in the hotels and everywhere are so nice. And I think they can kind of lull you into a sense of security until you step out there and the ball goes up in the air. And then they really turn on the atmosphere. And you mentioned Danny Nee. Danny Nee is the only coach in Nebraska history. Now think about this. They've been playing, over 100 years to have back-to-back 20-win seasons.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
And Hoiberg, Coach Hoiberg is, if he was able to accomplish 20 wins this year, he'd only be the second guy to do that. So it's not a program that's really steeped in tradition.
Yeah.
But these people love it, and they're hungry. I'm telling you, they're hungry.
He is Shon Morris. He's with us here on GCR. Shon, you brought up Derik Queen. One of the things that stood out to me most about last night's game in particular, some of the passing late was just sublime. Like the play in the post where the ball barely stopped was unbelievable. And then Derik Queen's vision late in the game when all of the momentum is going one way to make that skip pass to Rodney Rice on the opposite wing. That to me is it's hard sometimes to define because we do see nights where Derik Queen recently hasn't been completely on. But, my God, that looks like an NBA veteran making that pass in that moment.
Well, and last night in particular, he never got sped up. When the atmosphere got juiced, he still was kind of playing at his own pace. And he's, especially for a kid who's 18, 19, whatever he is, to understand and kind of embrace some of the nuances of the game, whether it's using the proper angle on a bank shot or just there was a cut that he made in the first half where if he goes in a straight line, it's not going to be available. He knew enough to kind of go out on the side. And on that pass that he made, which was not only was it the right pass, but it was in the right place. Some guys might have made that pass, but it would have been at the ankles or at the hip. And he hit it right where Rodney Rice could do something with it. And, he didn't turn his back to the pressure. And the passing between he and Reese, really good. And they're certainly the best interior passing duo in the Big Ten. And I can't tell you I've seen everybody in the country, but they're probably in the top three in terms of their willingness to share the ball and understanding where the other guy wants it and needs it to do something with it.
Shon, we're getting kind of late in the regular season. There's still 6 or 7 games left. Does Maryland have an upside on how they can play at this point in the season? Are they sort of a mirage at what they're doing now, or could they be a threat to go into the Sweet 16?
I think they're a legit threat, especially after seeing them last night and comparing it to what I saw in person last year. I mean, that team last year played hard, and they were in every game. They just couldn't make a shot. I mean, that's the biggest thing that obviously hops out at you is, you go from 350th, I think, in the country last year, shooting 29%, and you address that need, and now you're shooting 37%, fourth in the conference in that area. And if those guys, if Gillespie and Rice and Miguel aren't there to kind of stretch things out, there's no way that Queen and Reese are going to be able to do what they're doing inside. And so I think the fact that they can play different ways, they can play with 2 bigs, they can, go a little bit smaller if they want. If they want to press you, they can. The only thing as you look at it, and last night kind of spoke to it, not real deep. And injury is going to maybe be a little bit more glaring than with some places, or if you get into kind of extended foul trouble. But they can play different ways, and they've got some guys that they may not have all been around together, but they've all been around. And, to have all those guys come together the way they have and play that unselfishly, you got a shot.
Shon, how much does that matter? The adage or the opinion from a lot is, hey, you get to the NCAA tournament, you're using 6 players at that point anyway. Does the depth – I think in the context that you bring it up, like the possibility of an injury or serious foul trouble, yeah, but overall – how significant is it for March?
Unless it's an outlier situation like, someone gets hurt or like you mentioned, the foul trouble. Because if you get to March and you're still figuring out your rotation, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You better figure out who you want to go to, because if you're going to somebody just because, at 8 or 9 deep and you haven't developed that confidence with that kid between November and February, it's not going to work out real well. So, people kind of do their experimenting early on right, and try to figure out how deep they want to go. They tighten up the rotation. And, Maryland's right now, they just don't have, a ton of bodies. They've got a couple of injuries and things that I think they were expecting some guys to be able to play. I think Geronimo will be able to give them, some rebounding and maybe a few points here or there. But if they're not in foul trouble or somebody doesn't get hurt, you're not going to go more than – most teams don't go more than 8 deep anyway.
Yeah, it would be really nice if they could just get a couple more quality minutes from Deshaun Harris-Smith. Like that, what a game changer that would be for them if they could just get some more reliable minutes off the bench from him. Shon, the other thing to me about this team, I think, and we saw it, a little bit last night. They build up a lead, and then Nebraska sort of works their way back in. And I get that it's difficult on the road, but they seem to have this scenario where on any night anybody can be the alpha. There's not one guy. Like Jacoby Gillespie might be their lead guard or their point guard, but it's not necessarily him in those moments. Is a team better off having one, hey, when things start to go wrong, you're the guy, everything goes through you? Or is it better that on any night it can be anyone that says, I'm going to kind of be the alpha in this spot?
Good question.
Yeah, I think it's really good. I would rather have options because you don't see, to me, just as a fan and someone that likes the game, I quite frankly get tired of hero ball, when it gets down the stretch. If you have options, and I think it speaks to how unselfish these guys are, they don't care who makes the shot, and they're going to ride the hot hand. When Derik Queen was scoring down there in the block, they got him the ball. When Gillespie was able to shot fake and, get to the rim, they got him the ball, and you didn't see the other 4 guys worrying about, it's my turn to shoot. I just think if you have the options and the variety of options that they have, it's not just, we can throw it into the post. Yeah, you can throw it into the post. You can throw it into the short corner with Queen, and he can make a play. He can throw it into Reese. You've got guys that can hit threes, and if you don't close out under control, they'll get to the rim. And I just think it's a lot better if you have more options because, look, if everyone on your team knows that there's one guy that's the quote-unquote alpha, I can guarantee you in this league the opposition does too.
There's no doubt. That's true. And again, it's only for me in those unique spots, right? Like when you're up 12 and a team puts together back-to-back baskets and the crowd starts feeling it and you just need somebody. Like that's the spot where I'm like, oh, you kind of like for Jacoby to be the one to say, hey, settle down. I'm going to be the one to go make a play right now and change the momentum.
And I think where they did, honestly, when they needed to play last night more than any time, it usually was on the defensive end. I mean, their rotations were pretty good.
Yeah.
And they knew, look, to your point, they knew they were going to try to get the ball to Bryce Williams. And I got to give that kid a ton of credit. I didn't know if he'd play because he was sick as a dog.
Right.
And he found a way to kind of rally. But, they knew, look, we got to get over the top of these screens and we got to force it and to make it a more difficult shot. We got to force it to help. And they did that. So sometimes it's not just on the offensive end where you need people to make a play, but defensively, and they did because I turned to Kevin. I'm doing the game. I'm like, how is Nebraska within 4?
Right.
I just, because everything felt like it was an 8 to 10 point game, and it just wasn't.
All right, Shon Morris, before I let you go, if I could, where do you think everybody in the country, it's the SEC and everybody else this year, right? Do you think there's that much separation between those SEC teams and, say, a league like the Big Ten where it has just been like backyard brawls every night of the regular season?
I think that, the SEC is certainly more top-heavy. I mean, I saw Alabama in person, earlier this year, and they are stacked. Auburn, Tennessee, Kentucky, Arkansas is starting to come off Florida. I think it's a little bit more top-heavy. There's not in the league this year in the Big Ten. You don't have a Purdue of a couple of years past, right? I thought coming into this year, as you took a look at it with all the new faces, I thought the league champ in regular season would probably have 5 losses. It looked early on like that might be a little aggressive, but I think it could shake down to that. Michigan's got a few more games coming up. They could ding their record, but I think the SEC, you look at it objectively, that is maybe as deep a league as there's been since, the Big East a few years ago when they put however many teams in the league. I just think it's the top. They have more teams at the top that you look at objectively and say, yeah, they could make a really deep run. There's some teams in the Big Ten that just this year there doesn't seem to be quite as many, but the parity in the league, is pretty darn good.
Shon, last thing I've got for you is, have you seen Duke live this year, and your thoughts on Cooper Flag?
I have not seen him live. I've just seen him on TV, and the thing that impresses me about that kid, obviously his numbers speak for themselves.
Yep.
His demeanor. You watch him play, and you wouldn't know if they're up 20, down 20. He just plays, and it's rare where you see a guy with a reputation like that comes out and not only delivers, but that kid plays hard.
Yeah.
He plays hard, and I think that's what may separate him from some people who might have been remotely as highly touted as that kid. Is that that kid brings it, and there's some guys that you can tell watching that they play because they're really good at it and they kind of like what the game can give them. This kid just loves the game. He just loves to play, and it shows.
He is Shon Morris. Shon Morris, what's next on your schedule at Big Ten Network?
I'm coming down the stretch. I've got, let's see, my next game is at Penn State. Actually, Nebraska goes out there on Wednesday, and then I think I come back to Nebraska one time, and I do some stuff with the Summit League. So South Dakota State on Sunday. Now, those people hate each other. It may not be on the national radar, but trust me, those teams hate each other. That'll be fun.
Wow.
Shon, always appreciate taking the time. It was a great call last night, you and Kevin. Well done. Thank you for joining us this morning. Let's talk again soon, all right?
Appreciate it. It beats working. I've had real jobs, and I ain't equipped.
Hey, that makes three of us. Thank you, brother.
Stay safe down there in the Summit League.
Yeah, thank you.
He is Shon Morris, Big Ten Network, with us this morning here on GCR. Great win. Really great win for Maryland. The scenario in which they try to move up into the range of being a top 5 seed requires them to stockpile more Quad 1 wins, and they only had 3 more Quad 1 games, left on their schedule. They still have at Michigan and Michigan State at home. They needed that one.
And I think one of the important aspects of this, and Andy Katz and who was also in
Robbie Hummel
we're talking about, they both got it in separately, but that narrative about the Terps being a bad road team does appear not to be fully over, but they've strung together a nice string of
It's what made
games.
the Ohio State thing so tricky, because you wanted to believe they had turned the corner from that, and that it was past them, that they were just a bad road team, and then you have a collapse at Ohio State, and you're right back to maybe that week against Illinois and Indiana was just an anomaly.
An outlier.
Right. It certainly goes a long way.
It gives you some confidence. I'm not talking about us. It gives the team some confidence they can win on the road.
The irony being, the game that I think most concerns every Maryland fan is the game at Penn State, because Maryland just never, ever, ever wins at Penn State. Yeah. It's impossible to explain, but it's not a good Penn State team. There's no excuse for losing that game on the road this year. That's the one that still exists. Their next 3 are all at home. So,
when's their next game?
They play Sunday against Iowa at 5. So.
There's a football game, though, right?
Nope. No more of those. No more.
You miss football,
those.
don't you?
Oh, badly. I just miss.
You miss the opportunity to make money, don't you?
Well, I would like that, sure, but I wasn't very good at that this season. I was only mad at that. What I really miss is events that matter. Like, that's the thing that drives what we do, is events that matter.
Yeah.
And look, once actual baseball games begin, I can't pretend like spring training baseball games matter in a way that you can discuss them from day to day.
How about like a Loyola luncheon? Does that matter?
It matters in my life. Like that, it matters for me, but not for
Well, if
the
it
show.
mattered to you,
Yeah,
how
why
could
did
you
I
forget to wear a
man.
suit and tie?
Look, man, I got other things I'm worried about. Got to make sure the flowers arrive. Got to do all those things. Just one thing that slipped my. I was still here on. I want to make that abundantly clear.
You were here on
I
time.
screwed up. It cost me 20 minutes, and I was still here at 9:59.
Very impressive.
So let's get things together. Let's keep a little perspective about how this played out today.
Because I got to tell you, behind the scenes, there is a move to rename this show.
Oh?
The GBR show.
The GBR show. Okay. Well, I mean, hey, look, man, at one point, this is the way this
GBR
works.
Radio.
This is the way it works.
GBR Radio.
Sometimes you just got to know when.
I'm glad we know what side stands on.
Yeah, you got to know when. He's going to try to fire you in 5 minutes. Would you
What?
settle down over there?
What?
Have you met him before? In 5 minutes.
Well, you just told me you wouldn't.
He's gonna.
I'm the Grand Poobah here.
Yeah, something. Like
I
that.
can make kings.
You can make kings. Make kings, he says. Griffin, today's show is brought to you by the CIAA Tournament.
That's right. Baltimore is welcoming the excitement of the Food Lion CIAA men's and women's basketball tournament back
less
to.
than 2 weeks.
That's correct, because it starts February 25th and runs through March 1st over at CFG Bank Arena. Get your tickets; they're available now at Ticketmaster.com. Again, Ticketmaster.com for your tickets to the Food Lion CIAA men's and women's basketball tournament at CFG Bank Arena. Starts on Tuesday, February 25th, runs through March 1st.
And when you said I had a busy week before, I was talking about my 2 Zooms that I did, but I also did the podcast with Terry Hazeltine, and we had the commissioner on, Miss Jackie McWilliams.
Is that I always it's either up now or it's coming soon.
It's probably going to be up by Monday.
I never know exactly when those are posted, so I never know that. Staying with that in mind, actually, if we're making announcements, we want to make an announcement about the next print issue of Press Box.
Well, we got a very exciting cover. We've
So,
got
of course,
somebody on the record.
We've had the best of issue out for the last couple of months, and it's still available. This is like the last weekend. If you want to get that one, go get it right now with Lamar on the cover. And then you said Wednesday of next week?
Wednesday the 19th.
By Wednesday the 19th, the new print issue of Press Box will hit newsstands, the one that will take us into opening day. And Stan and I had the opportunity to sit down with Orioles
Chris
owner.
Ullman.
Yeah, Orioles owner David Rubenstein. That's who's going to be on the cover of the next print issue of Press Box, and the cover story will be our Q&A with David Rubenstein.
And I thought between the two of us, we got in most of the pertinent. We didn't drag into, how much money he spent, why they didn't get this guy or that guy. But I thought we asked the big picture questions.
It's tricky, Stan, because I was thinking about those things the day that we were preparing to do this. And what day did we talk to David? It was probably 3 weeks ago. Is that right? Late January, somewhere in that range. Yeah. And when we did, you just didn't know if you asked a question a certain way, and then the next day, the Orioles landed insert name here, that question expires and is no longer relevant. So, yes, to your point, I think our conversation was much more big picture than it was about the immediacy of this offseason, and yet provided a lot of interesting... I will tell you, there was a response to one of the questions that I asked David Rubenstein that floored me, where he just said, I hadn't thought about that, but I'll probably do it. I was like, oh, okay. That was
running the team, Glenn.
That was getting together with some of the younger players.
Yeah, I mean, we can say that. I one of the questions that I asked is if, because I did bring up meddling and his involvement and the line between, wanting the base in the context of what a lot of people are talking about, which is, hey, was the new ownership supposed to come in here and say this is what we're doing, or do you really want them to be more hands-off and say we trust the baseball people, and what's the line for that? And I asked him a conversation about it, and then the follow-up was, would you consider meddling in the context of you are a very successful person that has made a lot of money and has a certain amount of cachet that, with respect...
And a lot of cash.
Right,
too.
and a lot of cash and cachet, yes. That, with respect, the baseball people in this organization don't have that type of money. They're not that type of wealthy. They're not that type of successful. Would that be an area where you would consider getting involved, to, say, sit down with Gunnar Henderson or Adley Rutschman and try to talk to them about what the value might be of
playing their entire career in one
trying
place.
to be the next Cal Ripken. And might that matter a bit more because here's David Rubenstein, one of the more successful humans in the country, having that conversation with me. And I was floored by his answer, which was, yeah, I hadn't really thought about that, but I'll probably take you up on your suggestion.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. Like, that's a
Well, he was interesting. He said more specifically, if I recall correctly, that it was his first year. He came in at the very last moment, and that wasn't primary on his mind.
Yep.
But he said that he could see. He said, but then he kiddingly
I believe the quote was, "Your suggestion is a good one, and I'll probably
He basically also said that. These 24, 25-year-olds really don't want to sit down with a 75-year-old to have a couple beers, which is when I threw in that Glenn and I are
always available, 100%. If you're looking for somebody to go have a beer with, we will happily take you up
Well,
on that.
I said it because, we were available because he'd probably pick the checkup.
I would guess.
Yeah.
That's the only reason you said it? Yeah.
Depending on where we go, I'd make the offer. If we go to certain places, I won't even make the offer.
Well, we could always say, I'm taking some medicine. I'll drink water today.
Correct.
Yeah.
It was a really interesting conversation, and that'll be available starting next Wednesday, the new print issue of Press Box, featuring Orioles owner David Rubenstein on the cover.
And I got the impression that was not a one-off that will get that opportunity. He seemed very open to talking to the press.
That'll be an interesting. It will be interesting to see as he acknowledges that he knows the romantic period can have an expiration date, and it was a very romantic period for the first year for David Rubenstein in Baltimore, and everybody enjoyed all of the stuff, the dancing and the throwing of the hats, and everybody enjoyed it. But then the next measurement is, are you winning? And are you moving towards winning a World Series? And, right now there's a little bit of dejection, and some of that will go away once the season starts, and you remember Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson and Jordan Westberg and Colt. Like, the team's good. It's not a bad team. It's a good team. Some of that will go away as long as the Orioles win baseball games the way that we expect still that they'll win baseball games. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
I'm going to write a piece over the next couple days so it comes out on Monday or Tuesday. To me, the worst news in Birdland is, if you put it into real perspective, we always know the Yankees are going to be competitive. But the Orioles' success the second half of 22, all of 23, and most of 24 was built somewhat on the fact that for some unknown reason,
the Red Sox
have kind of checked out of being serious players.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden, with the signing of Bregman, the addition of Crochet, they seem to be back in the baseball business.
They do.
And that's quite frightening to me.
It makes life far more difficult. Yeah. We'll see, and when we talk Danielle Allentuck, we'll see how she's feeling about the possibility that the Orioles could still be in on pitching help before the season begins. I'll give you this one before we take a break, Stan. Yesterday, Keith Law was with us, and we were talking about the Padres.
Is that Mrs. Law's son?
Yes, Mrs. Law's son.
Yeah.
And I said, right, but you wouldn't do Kobe Mayo, right? And he said, yeah, I would.
Yeah.
For Cease or King,
right?
He said I wouldn't do it for Castillo, but for Cease or King,
right?
I'd trade Kobe Mayo. What say you? Would you be willing to pay that price for one of those two guys?
I like King an awful lot.
I do too.
I like King an awful lot. I would probably.
Now, Griffin pointed out he doesn't have the track record of innings pitched, obviously, that Cease does because he was a reliever.
I would consider it if there were a window built in where I could talk to him about and at least get a feel for what his parameters or what he's looking for are, and maybe try and get him signed, say a 72-hour window or something like that. But I would have to consider it. Only I wouldn't do it in the sense that we made the Corbin Burns deal and then lose him and just get a pick.
with the. It's sort of what I said yesterday. If I could know that he was going to sign 1,000%.
Yeah.
Presuming that neither one of those guys. Once a guy gets to within a year of free agency, it tends to be really difficult.
Yeah.
To get him to sign, even for an outstanding amount of money. So with the assumption that
I think if you can't line him up to sign him, I can't give up a prospect of Mayo's ilk. Joey Ortiz, I like the player. Don't get me wrong. Not in the grand scheme of things with what we had, but with Mountcastle coming to, I'm shocked that he's going to be on the team this year to start the season, but knowing that he most likely won't be here next year, I've got to have Kobe Mayo ready to rock and roll.
It's tough. It's really tough.
It's tough
because you can't make the price. It's easy for everybody to say, well, the Padres just acquired another pitcher. Obviously, they're trying to move a pitcher. They don't have to. They don't have to move one pitcher. They can just say, we're going to be loaded. Have you seen what the Dodgers look like? That's what it requires us to do in order to compete.
I would have been more inclined to want to sign Pivetta for the dollars that were involved than trading Kobe Mayo.
It does seem like that.
Because I'm tired of the draft picks. You know, remember Casey Stern's things? Draft picks are great.
Yeah, but
prospects are great, but parades are better.
Yes. It does seem like the qualifying offer report that was out there from Ken Rosenthal, that really did seem to be backed up by the Orioles really were not at any point tied to any of the pitchers that had turned down qualifying offers.
Correct.
So it seems like that was legitimate, that they just made the decision they weren't doing that.
And I'm assuming that all the talks with Seattle, they were centering it on Mayo plus, and we were starting with Mountcastle plus, and there was no traction there. You know,
there is still time. It's not impossible.
Not impossible.
Something could be made, but boy, you're into spring training. It's an awkward time for that to happen.
I mean, I wouldn't mind right now taking. I guess what I'm saying is, I would probably much rather sign Andrew Heaney right now for, like, say, 2 years, $35 million than trade Kobe Mayo for 1 year Michael King. You know. And just, by the way, last week we kind of, Luke hit me with it afterwards. Remember, I was a little incredulous at Peter Schmuck's notion of how big the money was for Jack Flaherty. They gave Flaherty 2 years, $35 million. The Tigers gave 1 year to Alex Cobb for $15 million, and he's not even going to be ready to start the season.
What about Charlie Morton?
And Peter was like, well, I wouldn't have given all that money. Jack Flaherty at 2 years at $35 million? I would have given that.
I understand an opinion about Flaherty that it did not work here. Like that, there's some.
I understand.
But yeah, see the point specifically about the money. No, there's not a specific. This is the cost of pitching in baseball. That's the way that it works. And if you get the guy that he was a year ago, it's worth more than that. We got to grab a break, and then Danielle Allentuck from the Banner is going to join us.
I'll use yesterday's.
That's a problem.
Oh, it is?
That's a problem. Just use number 3. Yes, that's fine.
All
right, when we come back in, we'll talk to Danielle Allentuck from the Baltimore Banner about all these things related to the Orioles. That's next. Stands here, Glenn Clark Radio.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their amazingly scrumptious, fat, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. Every season is crab season at Costas, so make your plans now by calling 410-477-1975 and reserve your taste of heaven. Sit back, crack some crabs, and watch the Ravens chase down another title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday nights, Costas offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30, and there are nightly specials Monday through Friday. So head on down to the Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at CostasInn.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll. receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now, and it's our very special Best of 2024 issue. On the cover, we celebrate our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, Lamar Jackson, as Bo Smolka profiles what the quarterback means to the community beyond the football field. Also inside, we celebrate the top people, performances, and moments of the year in local sports. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always read the entire issue and find the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Need a trophy or award that's as unique as the achievement? Look no further than Crown Trophy. With locations in Owings Mills and Gaithersburg, they specialize in custom trophies, plaques, and medals for any occasion. From sports and academic awards to employee recognition and corporate gifts, visit crowntrophy.com today and let them help you create a lasting memory for your school, team, or business. Crown Trophy is a proud supporter of the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association. crowntrophy.com.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
Apparently, Felix Batista is about to throw a bullpen session. I can see that. Jake Rill just posted some video of him warming up. So everybody's going to go watch Felix Batista throw a bullpen session and see where he is. And then Danielle Allentuck will report back to us to break down that Felix Batista bullpen session. We might not have a football game, but we will have a complete breakdown of Felix Batista's bullpen. And so...
And you interrupted me.
I know. Got to get a break in because we got to talk to Danielle Allentuck. We're going to talk to Danielle Allentuck. She is going to join us. It's just going to be in the 11 a.m. hour. So
I may have to duck out.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You're going to have to say.
Stan's got his own bullpen.
He's going to big-time Danielle Allentuck.
I've got a little league bullpen.
Yeah, got to go watch. Got to go watch the kids at Calvert Hall throw their bullpen today as they get ready. Speaking of high school sports, of course, into the postseason in high school hoops, as the MIAA and the IAAM in that action. You can go right now to countysports.zone. That's countysports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. At countysports.zone is the website for you to find out everything you need to know about high school sports.
Everything?
Everything.
Seriously, everything?
Everything. Scores, schedules, polls, the whole deal. Look at the brackets for the postseason.
Playoffs.
And then into, obviously, spring sports just after that. Countysports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer.
Are you talking playoffs?
Instantly? Who's calling these press conferences? My kids, when they watch.
That's a good line.
Not knowing anything about Jim Mora at all,
right.
My kids are like, you did! They're involved. They are.
You did.
You did. You started it. Literally, my son said, he introduced him. He said, hey, Jim Mora. I'm like, you know what, boy?
You're right.
You got a point. Yeah. I can't really argue that point with you. You sure as hell have a point about that. I know that you've been waiting all week to do your big Super Bowl breakdown, Stan.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won.
You won what?
I won the pool.
His pool.
No, you didn't. Maybe your pool. You didn't win our competition.
I won my pool.
Very nice.
There you go.
Very nice.
I actually split. A friend of mine who was in the pool and I separately. We were the only two people that had Philly to win the Super Bowl and Kansas City to lose the Super Bowl.
Okay.
And
you picked that before the playoffs begin.
Before the playoffs start. So those were worth 10 and 5 points. Then the winner by the spread was worth 10, and the over-under was worth 10. So we decided to partner and take one entry and go under the 48 and a half and the other, and we finished first and second.
Look at that. Look at that.
Feels cokish.
I explained it to somebody. I explained it to Griffin, and Griffin's response was, "Oh, so it was kind of fixed."
Well, I mean, he might have a point. I don't know how everybody else. don't know how.
That's a salacious
Accusation.
accusation,
100%.
and I'm going to talk to my lawyer.
Oh boy.
I'm going to talk to Byron Warnken.
You prepared?
Law.
Are you prepared to fight Byron Warnken? You prepared?
I feel like I've got a pretty.
I would like an apology right now.
Yeah.
Well,
we can move on at that point.
And so would my friend.
He'll drop everything.
So would my nameless friend.
But just throwing those things out there, just accusations.
I mean, I feel like there's
of game fixing.
The private conversations I've had with Stan, I feel like there is some validity to this. But you know
those
what?
Are private conversations.
You know what? I will apologize and say
on the record
that you know potentially maybe it wasn't a fully vetted accusation, but I think it's you know.
Oh, you still think you'd like to get your people on it? You would like to?
I do.
You'd like to put a team together.
Yeah.
Got to tell you, ever since.
Well, I'll accept that apology.
All right, thanks, Dan.
If you don't put that team together,
I've been looking out of the side of my eye all week.
They still on the roof?
No. Well,
okay.
The other day, we were in the middle of doing a show, and I looked off to my left, and there was a gentleman.
Woman.
No, there was a gentleman, just literally like hanging on the edge of the roof there, like doing the bit where like one of his feet was off the roof, and it stopped the show. I just looked over like, what are we watching right now? Is this? Do we need to call somebody? Do we need to alert some sort of authority to?
Right.
Suicide. There might be a jumper, and like then you don't want to make light of it, and like then we did nothing for what it's worth. We just watched, and then I said,
that's a hard one to expect somebody to die from.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
It's a one-floor building.
Yeah, you wouldn't think so. And Griffin was quick to point out, like, I think it's someone who's doing some sort of work. Like, I think I saw someone else up on the roof, so I'm not really worried about it. And then inevitably the guy walked away from the ledge, and I said, all right, I guess.
Didn't he come back later,
he
though?
Did.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, just doing play-by-play of this ended up being the show for about 10 minutes because I was completely and totally. And since that moment, I have found myself, like, all week kind of looking over to see if somebody's on the roof because it startled me. It shook me.
Carole King wrote a song about that.
Up on the roof?
Up on the roof.
Up on the roof.
If you read it carefully, the lyrics.
Yes, it's about a guy that you don't know.
Yeah,
right. I haven't read the lyrics carefully for Carole King for what it's worth.
That was a great
song.
That.
Stan, on my list of things to get to today, this Sunday is the big Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary.
I'll be watching.
Are you still on? Like, do you still watch Saturday Night Live, or did you have like your era of Saturday Night Live and then?
I watch it periodically.
Okay.
Well, yeah, it was not always appointment viewing for me. I guess the Aykroyd, Chevy Chase, Bellucci, Bill Murray years, Lorraine Newman, and Gilda Radner was kind of the main era for me.
I had totally forgotten that the girl from Hacks was Lorraine Newman's daughter. I had completely forgotten about that.
Yeah,
Hannah
that's right.
Einbinder, who's wonderful. That's
a terrific
incredible.
show.
It's an excellent show. I had totally forgotten about that until this week when Lorraine Newman's been doing some more press, and it was reminded to me. I was like, oh, right, yeah, that's explains why she's so brilliant.
Yeah, she's terrific.
I don't know. I always get nervous. Like I get too excited for something like this, and then you just realize it's very difficult to do with so many moving parts to make it a really great show versus just kind of a neat celebration and remember these things that you used to enjoy.
I think this is going to be a really special, somehow a very special show. We'll see.
Do you have an all-time favorite Saturday Night Live sketch?
All-time favorite sketch.
Or character, or recurring.
It's funny. There's so many over the years. Hans and Franz.
Oh yeah, they're here to pump you up, of course.
Yeah, they were pretty
to pump you up.
Yeah, and then the Wayne's World.
Yeah. Wayne's World was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Wayne's World is very high on my list. It's
Yeah.
extraordinarily high for me. Now this is interesting because obviously you and Griffin are a couple years apart. Like we kind of have
a couple years,
but we kind of have like almost a 3-generation thing.
I have the best generation, so that was
You have the best generation of Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, because I grew up on like Kristen Wiig, Bill Hader.
You think that's the best generation?
Will Forte.
I mean, I like
Jason
them.
Sudeikis.
Don't get me wrong. I think they're good.
Taron Killam.
What's your favorite recurring sketch?
Californians by far.
The California. I can't really argue with the Californians.
Fred Armisen. Bobby Moynihan, Kenan Thompson.
What are you doing here? What are you doing here? For a little while, I also did find myself doing the Californian's voice. Anytime I met someone from California, I would imagine that their world was exactly like that. Like, we're gonna take the 405 to the expressway, then
Why
to
don't
the.
you just chop on the 5 and get out of here?
That's not bad. That's not
As,
bad
as
at all.
great as that show was, has been,
California
pretty
specifically,
consistently. The show that really I remember skits from tremendous was SCTV.
See, I liked I liked SCTV.
Yeah.
And Comedy Central used to run a lot of SCTV.
The Bobby
over the years.
Bittman show
Yeah.
was one of my, and the Sammy Maudlin, that's what the show was, the Sammy Maudlin show. Bobby Bittman was like his Ed McMahon, I think. Yeah.
I can't. The problem is mine's not a recurring. To me, eternally, my favorite Saturday Night Live sketch will always be Matt Foley. Like, it will always forever be Chris Farley. Like, Chris Farley was what, when I was a young person, brought me to Saturday. Like, that was how I got into Saturday Night Live, was Chris Farley and living in a van down by the river and watched it every moment. When YouTube became a thing in, 2006 or so, and it's something that, for you, like the magic of you could just watch whatever you wanted to watch whenever you wanted to watch it, which was never something that you had an option to. Like, I had all the DVDs and I could, but the idea that you could just watch it and then watch it again, or that Forrester and I one morning during commercial breaks could just sit there and keep watching Matt Foley over and over again. One of the cool. So when Kyle and I first started working together, we bonded over Farley, and we tracked down the guy. There's a guy that was Matt Foley. He was he was a priest.
Did you have him as a
and we
guest?
had him as a guest on the
Wow.
show. Somebody did a big Foley documentary, and that's how. I said Farley. It was certainly not a Foley documentary,
Right.
But they did a big Farley documentary. I don't remember which one of the networks it was. But the night we were watching that, we were both like, holy crap, this is a real guy. Like, this is a real person. And so we tracked him down the next day and had him call into the show, and it was it blew my mind. But yes, eternally I will be a Matt Foley.
Yeah.
It is my single favorite SNL sketch of all time, and there will be nothing in my life that'll top it. If I had to pick a recurring sketch, Celebrity Jeopardy would probably be the one for me. Just the your mother's a whore, Trebek. Just.
Do you know there's a postage stamp now of commemorative Alex Trebek Jeopardy?
I didn't know that. I did not know that.
Yeah, I bought a page of them.
I like the
And
Latits now.
The pictures are things he would have said. I mean, it has a picture of him on the side.
Okay.
But each stamp is a different thing that he said.
Did the actual Trebek have Trebekisms?
They weren't Trebekisms or things he would have said on the show.
Just it's time
no,
for
actually, they were biographical questions.
All right. Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah, Celebrity Jeopardy would probably be my one.
Where does the more cowbell sketch rank?
Yeah, apparently it's because they just did all these documentaries for Peacock, and they did one of them very specific. So they did 5 documentaries in the lead up to this 50th anniversary special. One was about and I can't remember which year it was. They call it the Weird Year. It was the year they changed the entire cast, brought in John Lovitz and Damon Wayans, and it was just they call it a weird year. And then they blew everybody out at the end of the year except for John Lovitz. And they did one about everybody's auditions, where they had people watch their auditions, and that was neat. They did a documentary about the writer's room and what it looks like in the week leading up to a show. It was the Edeberry, the girl from The Bear. It was the week she hosted. They basically sort of did a behind-the-scenes about that week to show you how everything comes together. And then they did an entire documentary about the cowbell sketch. And the cowbell sketch undoubtedly worked. It undoubtedly was a good sketch. That it's become, I guess, the most watched sketch in SNL history. And
that was Christopher Walken.
That was Christopher Walken, 100%. And it was written by Will Ferrell, and he's got the belly shirt and it's flopping around, banging the cowbell and everything. Right. It's great. Nobody's going to debate the greatness of the cowbell sketch, but to call it the greatest sketch in SNL history. I mean, it's definitely memorable, and Walken nailed it.
Right.
And that does make the documentary interesting because apparently, like on the run through or they do the what do you call it, the rehearsal?
The read through or
no, the actual like
dress rehearsal.
Dress rehearsal. Thank you. Jesus Christ, my brain, man. They dress Max Scherzer. They do the dress rehearsal at 10 o'clock, and apparently
the Stevenson garb still on,
ready to go. And apparently he half-assed it during the dress rehearsal.
Gotcha.
He just didn't he was just going through the motions, and everybody involved is like, "Oh, this isn't going to work. They might cut it from the show." And instead, they made it the first sketch of the night because Lorne believed in it that much, and maybe Lorne had talked to Christopher Walken and knew that Walken was going to go for it on the actual live show. And boy, did he go for it. Like, he was a 10. They also did the fifth one. I forgot. The fifth documentary was just about music. Questlove put it all together, like all the.
It's funny watching the promos about how the Blues Brothers evolved and how that Lorne Michaels didn't like it.
100. It was.
And then they said, we got 3 minutes. We got to figure. How about
somebody
said,
go ahead,
make a fool of yourself.
Do your stupid thing, and we'll see what happens from there. And it only created one of the greatest motion pictures of the decade. Yeah. Like, that's all that came from that. Yeah. It was a truly iconic film. It's Sunday night on NBC. We'll talk more about it when we get to
Underestimated was Gilda Radner's sketches, when she came on the news.
When she was on the Weekend Update, 100%.
Yeah.
Outstanding, no doubt about it. Who's your one seat among Weekend Update anchors?
That's a good one. I think I liked Kevin
Nealon.
Kevin Nealon.
Yeah.
I liked him a lot.
I'm an unabashed Norm guy.
Okay. I was going to ask, what's it like watching Norm in his prime?
I actually liked Chevy Chase.
Sure.
But he's such a reprehensible.
He's an asshole.
He's a total
asshole.
He's
a complete asshole.
Yeah.
That was in the Weird Year documentary. I would encourage you, if you like Saturday Night Live, all 5 of them are very good. But in the Weird Year documentary, apparently one of the things they thought would help fix is that early on in the season, they booked Chevy to host with the hopes that Chevy would spend time with the cast.
Right.
And then they're like, yeah, that didn't happen. Chevy basically told them all to F off.
Right.
And,
my favorite performer, though, and somehow we've done 5 minutes on this, probably is Bill Murray. I just love Bill Murray.
Hard to argue with Bill Murray.
The singer, the lounge singer.
Oh, yeah. Bill Murray's great.
Yeah.
Griffin, when I was in Phoenix, I was dating a girl that worked at the Improv. And she always said, like, hey, whoever you want to, because most of them would come in studio with us. But sometimes when they were big stars, they'd be like, yeah, we'll call. Like, we're not gonna wander over. And she normally would try to arrange it because we did 8 to midnight. That after their Thursday night show, because they only did one show on Thursday nights, she would drive them over to the studio afterwards. But some of them would just be like, yeah, we're all right. Like, we can call. And Norm was gonna call. He wasn't gonna do. But she said if there was ever a case, just let her know. And normally after the second Saturday night show, they all want to hang out, and so just stick around. Go to the second Saturday night show and stick around and can hang out.
So you got to meet Norm?
I got to go bowling with Norm.
Jeez.
It was one of the greatest nights. I don't know that I can't believe I have to have told this story.
Does your wife
I've
know
never
that?
heard it.
That's one of the greatest nights of your life.
Yeah, she does. Norm wanted to play poker.
Uh-oh. I know he's a big gambler.
So
was.
Yeah, we're all hanging. There's like a group of 6 of us from the Improv that are all waiting to hang with Norm after the second show. And I say to the girl that I know, I'm not going to use her name. I say to her, hey, what are we doing? And she was like, well, I think he wants to play poker. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. And then she said, well, he's got a game in mind that I'm pretty sure it's a $5,000 buy-in. And I said, well, I will not be playing. That will not be happening. I was 24 or something like that at the time.
You carry $5,000 cash?
Yeah, believe it or not. And so he walks in, and I guess she told him that, like, I wasn't. And he was like, well, I'll front you. And I said, no. It was even more terrifying, the idea that I was going to be in the whole $5,000 to Norm McDonald. No. And so I say back, in a more sheep, I would rather not. And he says, all right, well, what do you want to do? I'm just like, I just wanted to hang out with you, man. Like, that's the only thing I'm here
I have
for.
no problem.
You can go
watching
play
you lose
poker,
money
and
I'll
I
watch it.
just want to be in your presence. And so he's like, "You want to go bowling?" I'm like, "If you want to go play poker, let's go bowl." And so that's what we did. We went bowling.
10 pins.
Yep,
Yeah,
10 pins.
no duck
this was
pins
not
out
in
there.
Arizona.
Duck pin
There was no
bowling
duck
with
pin out there.
McDonald.
But yeah, we went bowling. We had a great time. He didn't drink. I kept
How
saying,
much did you play for a game?
"Oh no, we didn't." That might not be true. We might have at one point. Like he definitely had that tick.
Yeah.
Like that tick where you're doing well. Maybe we up the ante a little bit. But it wasn't $5,000. That
$5,000 on a bowling game.
I've never. The two things I remember most are, what do you want to do? He told me, I asked him what he wanted to drink. He said Coke. And I said, you sure? And he said, I don't like drinking. I like Coke. If drinking tasted like Coke, I drink more. I like Coke. I said, all right, I'll go get you Coke. And that's the way that it went. But it was one of my favorite nights ever, just hanging out with Norm Macdonald. It was very, very special.
Is he a good
for me.
bowler?
He's a very good bowler. He also was buddies with Wayne Gretzky. And when he found out that I also kind of knew Wayne Gretzky, he was like, well, let's go to his house. And I said, well, I don't know him like that. Like, I work around him a little bit, but I'm not. And he said, all right, well, let's just go. And I said, do you, like, are you that close to him that we could just show up at his house? He was like, I think he'd be excited to see me. It's like, well, do you know where he lives? He said, no, but we'll call him.
We'll call him.
And I guess he wasn't in town, so we never ended up at Wayne Gretzky's.
By the way,
house
a
that
man just fell off the roof.
No!
over there.
God, the 1 second I look away so that we can have a fun Saturday Night Live conversation. And that's the moment that it happens. All right, into hour number 2 of Glenn Clark Radio. Stan is here with us on a Friday edition of the program. Really excited for this guy. He made it official this week, his retirement from baseball. Really good dude. And someone who spent 4 years here in Baltimore. It's a pleasure to welcome back to the program former Orioles reliever Richard Bleier, who is with us now here on GCR. Richard, it's Glenn and Stan here in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you. Thank you so much for taking the time for us this morning.
No problem. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Richard, it's funny because he brought it up earlier. Unfortunately, the 4 years that you were here were like the 4 years in this time frame for the Orioles that weren't the best years to have been in Baltimore. But given that it was like the place that you spent the most time in your career, what does Baltimore mean to you now as you're in the place where you're reflecting on your major league career?
Yeah, I think that it really it was where I established my career, I think, and also learned a lot because if you know when I first came over in 17. Darren O'Day, Brad Brock, Michael Givens, Zach Britton, we're all out in the bullpen. So to have those kind of guys watch how they do work and just what they're doing and what they're talking about and how they're acting was like really eye-opening and just a great experience. And the value of veteran leadership really goes a long way. And I really feel like that helped me out tremendously, learning how to kind of carve my own path out in the big leagues. And as far as overall Baltimore, it was just a great experience. And now that I'm done, I'm excited to see where the organization has gone. And you hate like the rebuild and all that stuff, and it was like a lull, like I was like in the middle of the rebuild and the end of the old era and the new of the new era type thing, and out with the old for sure, and in with all the new guys. But so I caught the very beginning, like I got to meet Adley, and there's a few other guys that I got to see in spring training the last couple of years I was there, and now playing against them in the big leagues, it's good to see, and it's a good time to be an Orioles fan for sure.
Richard, Stan the fan here, and greatly appreciated your time in Baltimore. Wonder if you could talk a little bit, because it kind of coincided where you really got established as a major leaguer. Your thoughts of Buck Showalter as to what made him so special at handling bullpens.
Yeah, Buck was great. I know he has that reputation of handling bullpens, and I agree that he did a great job of managing relievers, workloads and pushing us hard at times when we needed to be, when it was needed, and also kind of backing off. And I think a lot of that was like sticking true to the you pitch with the lead only type thing. And Mattingly did that with me in Miami, and it was great because I pitched if we were down 1, I didn't pitch, and I think that's how you really wear somebody out. If you kind of chase victories, and if you're not confident in everyone in the bullpen, you rely heavily on your top 3 or 4 arms, and those guys get worn out. And then by the end of the year, they have 75 innings or whatever, and when you need them the most, they're not as sharp as they should be or could be. And so I feel like Buck did a really good job of kind of. I remember one time we were in Texas, and it was the 9th inning, and there was only 2 mounds, and he had 3 guys warming up. It was Britton, Brock, and myself. And down by 1, I was in the game. Tie game, Brad was in the game, and up by 1, Zach was in the game for the save. So it wasn't just Zach no matter what, which like other teams do. You see, they'll use their closers just to like, we need a 0 to hopefully get back in this game. And then, that's how you really add innings. And I ended up pitching that game. I remember I had warmed up and I was done. So I was sitting on the side, they were warming up, and we didn't score. We had a guy on third or whatever. So they were getting going, and I just got up and went in the game because we didn't end up scoring a run. But, stuff like that, I feel like, where I was not pitching with the lead. And so that was kind of my role of like, keep the game close, and give the team a chance still. And Buck trusted me in those situations, close, but not with the lead. And then I eventually worked my way to pitching with the lead, which obviously everybody wants to pitch with the lead. That's, you want to pitch in high leverage situations late in game. And that's how Buck did it. And like I said, I think that's a really good way, because it is a very long season. And if you want your guys to be, peaking at the end of the season and not kind of limping to the finish line.
Deservedly, you became part of the A bullpen. It's just we unfortunately there weren't as many opportunities to use the A bullpen in those years. Richard Bleier is with us here on GCR. Richard, I know for a lot of guys there can be like bitterness when you get to the end. I wonder if, given like your path and that you were a guy that had to grind and maybe work a little bit harder, and you were almost 30 by the time you reached the big leagues. Like, is there more of an appreciation for, I don't know, everything's kind of cake at that point? Like the fact that you were able to do this for as long as you were, given, how hard you had to work, that it makes it easier to make a decision when it's time to walk away.
I mean, to be honest with you, exactly how it went. I mean, I spent 6 years in AA. I was 9 years. I was on my 9th season in the minors when I got to the big leagues. When I had in 2015, I had a really good year with the Nationals in the minor leagues. And I told my agent, I said, look, I just want to sign with a team that's going to give me the best chance to get one day in the big leagues, so it can make all the stuff I did before this worth it and say, I'm a major leaguer. So when I walked onto the field with the Yankees day one, that was it. Mission accomplished. My goal was, I achieved my goal. Everything. I think that's what helped me be successful early on, was because I had no pressure. I had no expectations of, what if I can get $100 million contract, blah, blah, all that stuff. I mean, I accomplished my goal. I was just out there having fun at that point, creating stories that I'm going to tell down the road, I was a big leaguer for a week or whatever. And it ended up progressing, and I did well, and still was very, I didn't put pressure on myself till I got to my arbitration year. I was like, wow, I could actually make money. This changed a lot, and that's when you just can't help but yeah, I mean, at the end of it right now, I'm extremely proud of myself and what I accomplished, and I don't think, you really don't, I don't know. It's kind of awkward to say that, I guess, in a way, but just looking back on my career, there's nothing that I feel like I left on the table. There's nothing that oh, I wish I would have done this, or any regrets, or any way, yeah, I could have went differently. I could have got to the big leagues at 24 like everybody else or whatever. And then, if I weren't ready, maybe I would have been a week and I would have been done, and I would have been done, 10 years ago or whatever. And so it all worked out the way it did. And it couldn't have worked out any better for me and my family. Just after Baltimore going to Miami, every Sunday after the games in Miami, my family, we'd close the place down.
Yeah.
We would be on my sister and her kids and my parents, my aunts and uncles would be there. So it was just an incredible experience that, like I said, it couldn't have worked out any better. And I'm extremely thankful for it.
Rich, two-part question. For somebody that didn't throw with great velocity or anything like that, you used a lot of guile, and you were one of the smarter pitchers I've seen. What told you that your time was done?
Honestly, I think that throughout my career, I was very hungry and worked extremely hard because I didn't throw hard, and I didn't have that elite fastball of like 99. And so I was very prepared for games, very prepared for hitters, extremely prepared. I would watch hours of video on myself against them against other people. I would research hitters and what they were saying to the media, if they were saying they were working on specific things, if they were struggling with certain things. I would try to use any information I could to my advantage, because it's, there's so much on the line. And I think towards the end, I wasn't, to be honest, I just wasn't that hungry. I was, you just kind of get worn out, and it was it was a long career. And I think that I didn't do as much as I usually do. And I wasn't throwing the same kind of pitches that I usually was throwing. And I think that I just kind of knew that.
You kind of knew, yeah.
It's hard to compete against people that are over 10 years younger than me and want it more than I do. And, and I tried, I signed with the Nationals after the Red Sox season. And I worked hard, and I gave it my all. I had a great spring training with the Nationals. It just didn't work out. I came up a guy or two short there. And once I went to AAA, I went to AAA for 6 weeks, and I just knew that I was, I was at that point, I was counting down the days till my opt out, honestly. And, there was no interest, no major league interest after that. And at that, that was I was done then, and I just happened to kind of finalize it recently. But that's just the honest truth, is that I just realized that these guys are better than me and want it more than me. And, and I feel like that was kind of the writing on the wall that I think I'm done here.
So all the energy you put in, all that, energy, staying in shape, practicing and all that, where is that energy now? In other words, what are you doing to replace that? Is it just being a great dad?
Yeah, I got 2 kids. I'm a stay-at-home dad. No, I'm enjoying my time with my family, and I'm glad that they got to see me play, and now I'm not going to miss out on them growing up. So it like I said, it worked out well. My oldest daughter will remember me playing. My youngest daughter will be able to look back at pictures of her out there, and and I'll be able to explain to her what exactly it is. So and now I got baseball practice next week with my oldest daughter. She's in t-ball. So I'm definitely staying busy, doing things that I like to do, and like I said, just spending time with the family, trying to make sure that I soak in. These are my oldest daughter's 5 and my youngest is 2. So these are all really good years here that we're going to have a lot of good time. We got a fishing trip coming up. My oldest, she likes to fish, so we're going fishing on Monday on the off day. So we definitely got stuff going on.
Doesn't seem like a bad way to spend some time. That seems all
yeah.
right.
Like I said, it worked out.
Is baseball in your rearview mirror now, in terms of, would you like to get back into it, broadcasting, coaching?
I I think that I have a lot of experience in baseball, right? I've played 17 professional seasons. I have done almost everything. I repeated levels in the minors. I had success in the minors, failures in the minors. I got to the big leagues. I got through arbitration. I had success in the big leagues. I had failures in the big leagues. I got traded. I got to free agency. I pitched in the playoffs. So I do feel like I have a lot to offer in terms of experience and knowledge. I sat in on every single bullpen for pretty much my whole career of the starters. If you ask the pitching coaches they're very annoyed. I would constantly be probing them for information on myself and other pitchers and other teams' pitchers and why things work and why things don't work. And I always really wanted to learn about pitching and how I can apply that information to making me as good as I can be. And so I learned a lot. I mean, I was in the minor leagues pre-analytics, so, I didn't start hearing about spin rate till like 2014 when I was with the Blue Jays. And so I saw this huge transition. I was a part of this transition in the game, and I played years, of 90s style baseball before we got to where we're at now, and watching what I feel like was the peak in analytics. And now it's kind of on the come down, where when I went to the Red Sox, the opening meeting to the pitchers in spring training, I thought it was going to be like this. There was going to be like scientists with lab coats doing all this breakdown, and it couldn't have been more opposite. It was just throw strikes. That's all we want you guys to do. So they're going to get guys who have pitches that can get outs in the strike zone, and then we just want you to throw strikes. Just doesn't matter the count, whatever. Everything is just throw strikes. And I was like, man, this is like, you're teaching a kid who's just learning how to pitch. And I think, the idea is that you all have elite stuff. We don't need you to work on your hop or your sweep or whatever. We just can't have you walking guys. Like you can't get major league hitters out if you're constantly behind in the count or walking guys or trying to get swings and misses out of the zone. And so just to see the shift kind of revert back to, like throw strikes and you get people out. It's like, man, this is really simple, and I'm really good at that. So that's good news. But I don't know. Like, I'm not actively pursuing anything. I'm not saying no to anything. I don't really have any plans. I know, it's Valentine's Day today, so and it's my wife's birthday, so we're doing that. Tomorrow, I don't know what we're doing, so I'm very short term right now. I don't have any long term plans. Like I said, I feel like I have a lot to offer through my experiences and through my knowledge. Where that takes me, if anywhere, I have no idea. But I do enjoy baseball still. I'm not like resentful about being done playing. I plan on going to spring training games and being a fan and watching. I live in West Palm here, so I can hit up the Marlins. I don't know if I know anybody on the team, so they kind of got rid of everybody, but we'll see. So yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't have it. Nothing's imminent by any means. I'm definitely leaving the door open.
Can I ask you about somebody that you know on the Orioles? Just because it was a tough season last year for Trevor Rogers after the Orioles acquired him, and
yeah,
I wonder, knowing the way that you know him and seeing the success that obviously he's had when you were teammates in Miami. What should Orioles fans know about Trevor Rogers? Because as you can imagine, there's some
all down on him.
Yeah, there's
not
a lot
me,
of that
but
here.
all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I could imagine. I definitely understand. I know he went over there, and didn't get it done. Right. There's just no doubt about it. I know he ended up getting optioned. Right.
Yep.
So he, like you said, he has been successful in the big leagues. He's very good, and works really hard. And I think that he still can be good, and he still will be good. And it's just a matter of kind of figuring out how he needs to be good. For me, he's still seems to be searching for what kind of pitcher he is. Does he pitch down in the zone? Does he pitch up in the zone? Is he going to use his breaking ball more? Is he going to, and so I think going over the Orioles, like I said, I'm just assuming, I haven't talked to him. I assume they probably offered him some information, and he probably tried to run with that, change things up a little bit, because he was struggling with the Marlins. So, at that point, like anybody else, you're really up for anything. At least in my situation, where like I've gone to anybody, like when I was struggling with the Marlins or whatever, or the Orioles even, like anybody can offer anything to me. I'm all ears, right? Like I'm not able to figure out why things are not going well. In 2019, coming off from injury, I got off to a horrible start, and it felt like I was throwing the same pitches I'd always thrown, and they just weren't working. And I made some phone calls to some people, just to try to is anybody seeing anything here? Who can help me? And then eventually I got back on track, but what I thought was similar wasn't the same. I just wasn't fully healthy yet. And so for him, maybe, I know he had injuries. He had a lat injury as well, which was what I had. I'm not making excuses for him, but it could be an injury thing that maybe he just needs a full off season to kind of get a reset. But I think the fact that he's had prior sustained success in the big leagues, and you see the body, he's a big kid, big arm, good stuff. And look at Tanner Scott, like some of those guys they take a while to kind of find their groove. But the thing that I've learned throughout the course of my career is that inevitably stuff will play. And I think teams know that as well. That's why they got Trevor. If you have stuff, it's going to work, right? We just need to figure out how to make it work. But look at Evan Phillips, who was with the Orioles and got DFA'd. And now he's closing games for the Dodgers. Like, these guys have elite stuff, and it like sometimes you can't be as patient to kind of see it through as an organization, like depending on where you're at and what you're trying to do and accomplish. But like in Trevor's instance, the guy is good and he's going to be good, and it's just a matter of maybe he just needs to know it, right? And so like I said, I don't want to speak for him. I don't really know exactly what. I know he had it didn't go well after the trade. But I do know he is really good. I mean, I watched him, just dominate a season, and I've also watched him struggle. My last year there with Miami, and like in 22, he kind of struggled and had injuries and stuff like that. So who knows? We'll see. We'll see what he shows up in spring. I hope the best for him, though. And I hope for Orioles fans the best for him, too, because he's a really good kid. I mean, he's not a kid. He's an adult, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know. Like, when I play with him, he's like, how old is he now? He was like 20.
He's 27 or 28 now, I think.
Yeah, so a few years ago, he was like whatever.
Yeah, he's 23, 24,
or whatever.
Right.
Which in my eyes is very young. I think about where I was, in Double-A or whatever at 23, 24, and these guys are pitching. He's pitching in the NL East, which is no joke. The AL East is no joke either. But that's what I think about. It's like, for me, I couldn't get out of the East, and it's the thing. It's not easy. That's for sure.
Maybe
so. Long story short, I don't really know what kind of led to his struggles, but I'm very confident that he'll get back on track. He's too good not to.
This I just wanted to end with this, and I don't know if somebody shared this with you or not, but it was shared on Twitter this week. There are just 6 pitchers in Major League history to have thrown at least 300 innings with an ERA plus of 135 or better and a walks per 9 innings of 1.5 or fewer. One of them is Cy Young. Another
never heard of him.
Never heard of him. And another is Richard Bleier.
And Richard Bleier made more money than Cy Young.
That's true, actually.
Hey,
you got that.
Hang with them. You know what I'm saying?
Richard, you were always wonderful to talk to, and you've always been great coming on the show over the years. We're so happy for you and for your family. that you're
Thanks.
at this
I appreciate
place.
that.
And,
Congratulations on a great career.
yeah, whatever
Thank
ends
you.
up being next, we're going to be in touch, and we'll be rooting for you, man. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning. We really
No
appreciate
problem,
it.
guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Richard.
Great guy.
All right.
Great guy, Richard Bleier.
Sounds
And,
like Trevor Rogers could use a guy like
Richard
him.
Bleier, 100%. It sounds like he could use somebody like that.
You know, it'd be interesting. One of the things you wonder about and I'm not ready to call Trevor Rogers a failed starter,
Sure.
but
Is this
if
somebody
he
that
does,
would, yeah.
would he translate
Mhm.
into being exactly what Richard Bleier was?
It's a fair question.
You know,
His stuff is better than Richard Bleier's, I think. Like
Yeah.
when he's
and
on,
might
yeah.
play better in smaller sample sizes. You know.
By the way, that list of 6 pitchers.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's.
Am I on
it's,
that
no,
list?
it's very random. It's Koji Uehara, so 2 former Orioles on the list. Jim Devlin, Dan Quisenberry actually is on that list. Addie Joss, I don't know anything about Addie. And then Cy Young and Richard Bleier. 6 pitchers.
Addie was a big fan of the GCR.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Don't feel like the timing really lines up for that. But incredible career for Richard Bleier. Really. And the fact that, again, he was basically 30 years old when he finally made it to the big leagues. Just an unbelievable run from there. Appreciate him taking the time for us this morning. All right, we continue here on GCR, and we head down to Sarasota right now, where she just watched Felix Bautista throw a bullpen and is going to break it down entirely, frame by frame, for us. She covers the Orioles for the Baltimore Banner. She's Danielle Allentuck, and she is with us this morning here on GCR. Danielle, it's Glenn and Stan the Fan. It's great to chat with you. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning.
Of course.
Hey, Danielle, it's funny because we were talking at the beginning of the show about how a year ago you guys got down there and all the news was bad for Orioles fans. It's like everything you were reporting back was, just crushing related to injuries. Obviously very pleasant for the club. That's not what the first 48 hours have been like down in Sarasota this time.
Yeah, I mean, last year, remember Mike Elias walked out to his media availability literally holding a notepad because there were so many injuries we had to keep track of. And this year, it's just one new injury. Just Trevor Rogers has a knee subluxation. He'll just be out for a couple of weeks, nothing too major. And all the news on the guys who had Tommy John surgery is pretty promising. You know, all those guys, Tyler Wells and Kyle Bradish and Felix Bautista, they're all right on track and right where they're supposed to be. So, you know, things can still pop up, but so far everything seems pretty okay injury-wise.
So, you bring up Felix Bautista. I know we just joked that you were just watching Felix Bautista in the bullpen. What you saw, did it look like a guy that it is practical to talk about opening day being in the cards for Felix Bautista?
Yeah, he's about 85% right now, but it's very early in spring training, and that's kind of strategic. You know, relievers don't need quite as long to build up as, a starter may.
Sure.
So they're going to build him up slowly this spring. You probably won't see him in a lot of spring training games, at least not until the end. So this is all strategic. This is all part of the plan for him. And, if he's going to be right around opening day, if he's not ready for opening day, I would expect him to be ready shortly after.
Danielle, I'm going to make you feel really good. It's sunny here and about 30 degrees. What's it like down there right now?
I think it's like 85, a couple clouds in the sky, but nice and bright. But I fought through a snowstorm to get here, so I know all about winter,
All right. Tell us a little bit about what Mike said about Jorge Mateo. How long out will he be?
Yeah, he's another guy who's kind of teetering right around opening day. He probably won't be ready for opening day, but they expect him shortly after, maybe end of April or early May. He's conditioning. He's in a hitting progression. He's starting to throw a little bit. So, he's right on track, but opening day is probably pushing it for him.
Danielle, obviously so much of the conversation surrounding this team as they go down there for Orioles fans is about, who's not there in the moves that weren't made. What to you of the moves they did make this offseason is most interesting? Like whose role, who's where they are there in their career are you most compelled by as you watch over the coming few weeks?
Well, if you look at their list of additions, it's all veterans. And that was something that this team was really lacking last year. They had a couple of big guys, but they definitely needed a couple more veterans in the clubhouse. So I'm really interested in, how is Charlie Morton going to take this team under his belt? He's 41. I think this is his 17th major league season or something crazy like that. And he's just he's known for being that guy who can really rein in a clubhouse. I'm interested to see his impact. I'm curious how Tyler O'Neill and Heston Kirkstead are going to share time this year, how that's going to work out, and then how Sugano is going to adapt to the U.S. He had incredible success in Tokyo, and Flores over there was their MVP a couple times. So I'm very intrigued to see how he adapts to the U.S. And he's 35, so it's not like he's some of these young guys coming over. He's just a veteran guy in his own right. So I think the transition should be pretty seamless.
What do you make of the idea that maybe there still could be another, like, do you feel like that there's so much conversation about how many particular, like, outfielders they've brought in, and are there room for all of these major league players, and are they telegraphing that they still have interest in trying to acquire one more pitcher before the season actually begins? What do you make of that conversation?
I mean, at this point, the team is basically who it is. I don't see them going out and, getting a star pitcher at this point. But, it's at the trade deadline in the middle of the season. If they feel like they need it, I could see them swinging big for somebody. But in terms of the outfielder, I mean, having too many good guys is not an issue, It may lead to somebody not making the team and them having to DFA somebody or cut somebody. But, at this point, having the depth is really important, especially because you never know what's going to happen with injuries as the season goes along.
Danielle, I know at this point, I think Mike Elias has stated that they plan on having a 5-man rotation, at least probably the first month of the season because of the schedule being lighter than usual. But who is that fifth guy for you right now? Is it Sugano, or do you think Povich pops his head above the other candidates?
I think they're going to have a competition this spring for it, and I think it's really just going to depend who's in the best shape and who's ready. The advantage is, for a guy like Povich, you can just option him and then bring him back up. He still has a couple more years of options left. But I do expect them to go 5-man rotation. I expect it to probably be Eflin, Rodriguez, Morton, Kramer, and Sugano. I don't think that they brought Sugano all the way over from Japan to not have him start the season on the Major League roster. So I would anticipate it being those 5. Albert Torres maybe in the bullpen, who can make a spot starter. But, it's going to be a competition. And if, a guy like Povich or Brendan Young or Chase McDermott are ready, I could see them getting a spot somewhere.
You mentioned earlier the Heston Kjerstad, Tyler O'Neill conundrum. I want to throw Kobe Mayo's name into that conversation because it certainly doesn't feel like there's anything left for Kobe Mayo to do in the minor leagues. But with Ryan Mountcastle still here, I just wonder where are the at-bats coming from for Kobe Mayo at the big league level this season?
Yeah, I mean, I'd kind of argue that Kobe Mayo still does have work to do in the minor leagues.
Okay.
He did not adapt great to Major League. His defense still has a far way to come, especially if they plan on playing him at third, which I do think is a better path. And there's also talk of him going in the outfield a little bit, which will only take some time. And I think that it's okay for him to go back down if that's the case and work on his hitting mechanics and kind of get that under his belt a little bit more. I think we'll see him in the major leagues this year. I have no doubt about that. I don't see him finding a way to crack his opening day roster unless he, blows it out of the water this spring or an injury pops up to another infielder.
Danielle, one of the more interesting moves the club made this year was parting company with Freddie Gonzalez. Robinson Chirinos, tell me what it's looked like so far, the optics. Is he really Mr. Personality? Is he showing a lot of exuberance? I mean, how's he acting down there?
Yeah, I mean, it's been one full workout, so It's kind of hard to tell so far. And I did bop around a lot yesterday.
Yeah.
So I didn't see him too much, but he looks like a player still. He blends right in. Him and Adley are really close because he was, the big brother kind of to Adley, Adley's first major league season. So I think having those connections with the current roster is only going to help him and only going to help this team.
Danielle, what else are you, like, as you're down there and where there's not games for a little while, what else are you going to be focusing on coverage-wise?
Yeah, we'll just be getting a lot of features underway. This is a really great time to get to know players and kind of get to know their backstories a lot more. And it's never too early to start talking about roster battles. And this team has a bunch of them this year.
Of course, you can follow Danielle on Twitter at D_Allentuck. And, of course, the BaltimoreBanner.com is where you find all of her stuff. And, again, we hope that you're surviving through that 85-degree weather. We wish you nothing but the best. I know that's very difficult and challenging circumstances to have to work in. But, Danielle, we really appreciate taking the time for us this morning.
Danielle, do you have a list of good restaurants to eat down there?
Yeah, Stan's headed down in a couple weeks.
I'll get you some before you get down here. I'll try to save some of this perfect weather for you.
I've got one good place for you. It's an Italian place. Fantastic. You got to call for a reservation. Tiramisu.
Okay.
All right.
Do.
Check it out.
Danielle, thank you for taking the time for us.
on.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Danielle Allentuck of the Baltimore Banner with us here on GCR. We'll come back in. I want to talk a little bit more about that. Is there anything more for Kobe Mayo to do in the minor leagues? We'll talk about that next. Stan's here. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
COVID-19 and flu viruses are circulating in Maryland. But don't worry. Protection is within arm's reach. Protect your health with this year's COVID-19 and flu shots. It's safe and convenient to get them both at the same time. Flex your protection. For more information, visit health.maryland.gov/vaccines.
This message paid for by the Maryland Department of Health.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
You're gonna love February at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Sweeten your Valentine's Day with a chocolate bar February 13th and 14th. Pamper yourself and your partner with Valentine's Day spa discounts February 10th through 21st. Celebrate the Year of the Snake and win a Lunar New Year luxury brand collection February 28th. Plus more ways to play, dine, and win all month. At Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at DriveEasyMD.com.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCR to continue along on a Friday edition of the program. Stan has been in studio with us this morning. Stan, Danielle, it's one of the things that I keep coming back to. Danielle doesn't think that there's likely to be a pitching trade. Like, she seems to think this is the team. And I get it, time-wise.
At this time, I would agree right now, but I'd say still
it's
a possibility.
I'd say it's more likely than not that she's right, based on the time of it all. That said, like when she says, I don't think it's a bad thing that Kobe Mayo would go back down. I'm sure that's Mike Elias thinks that way constantly. Like, that we have that option. Why not use it? But I don't know that I agree. And at this point, Kobe Mayo spent more than a season at AAA combined over the last 2 years and is OPS'd over 900. And I don't know that I see it that way. And I think this is where people get into that place of is Mike Elias just hoarding prospects? And I think it's where it traipses back into that conversation about Keith Law that Keith Law brought up earlier, that you end up just keep holding and holding and holding and holding when these guys should be at the major league level, and if they can't be there with you, you should be using them to get the pieces that you need to succeed at the major league level.
Yeah, Luke and I have had that conversation, and he would ascribe to that, that Mike, if he's had a failing, it's that he's held on to people like Norby, Stowers.
And I think a lot of people are wondering about Heston Kjerstad now at this point.
Yeah. In fairness to him, the Kjerstad situation was complicated
no
by the injury. They have not done that with Jackson Holliday. They've pretty much given him, in other words, yes, he accomplished more than Kobe Mayo at the major league level last year, but not a great deal more.
And yet they're saying
he's going to play.
You inherit the job. It's
He's got the job. Kobe Mayo is a little bit different situation because of who we have on the team. Let's not forget that the past couple years, Ryan Mountcastle has had injury issues with this vertigo and a couple other injuries. So I think Mayo will get an opportunity reasonably quick through some injury. I suppose that you could build a scenario that he could make the team with a devastating spring, But it sure looks right now that they will exercise an option on him.
And when she brings, I feel I've completely written off the idea of Kobe Mayo third baseman. That doesn't.
I don't think they see. I don't. First of all, where's he? I mean, in other words, you've got Holiday at second, Henderson at short, and Westberg at third. There's no question.
And you want to get Mateo into the lineup.
Yeah, Mateo's going to play.
Yeah.
I think, and again, I brought this up with Cal Ripken last year when there was some problems with because Westberg, to me, his best position is second base.
Probably.
This was before Holiday really established himself. That I thought Mateo could play some third base because I saw Todd Cruz come from the Mariners to the Orioles in 1983. Very similar kind of skill set, incredible range, little bit tricky with the arm, because he makes so many great plays. And then I saw Todd Cruz do the same thing and play an incredible defensive third base. So I wouldn't rule that out at some point. Urias, to me, could be a very valuable player for some lesser teams.
Well, if the argument for Mayo continue to try to play third base was, hey, when you're facing a lefty, you want to have Westberg play second, and then you can put Mayo in as a right-handed bat at third. The problem being, again, then where's Mateo playing?
Right.
Because he's going to play, and you're not going to take Gunnar Henderson out of the lineup. Just not. I guess the answer could be center field, that you could do that.
And Mayo could DH, but I just don't see a path for him to make the opening day roster right now.
At the moment, I probably don't either,
Yeah.
and I think that goes back to the conversation that Keith Law was having, which is you have this opportunity right now with Gunnar and with Adley. You need players that line up with that window right now. That's what you need to prioritize.
You're going to have a pretty pissed off Kobe Mayo if he does not make this team.
And I don't know that I could blame him, right? Like, he's not 21. This isn't Jackson Holiday.
No.
Like, he's been here for a while and has done everything that he was supposed to do. And, the idea of going back down with truly nothing to prove. Short of if they were hell-bent on, if they had a hole at third base and they were hell-bent on, we need you to continue to work to prioritize being a third baseman.
But I think that cat's out of the bag.
It's gone,
I think they view him as a first baseman.
So I think that adds relevance to the conversation that we were having earlier, where we all value Kobe Mayo significantly. So you can't move Kobe Mayo for a one-year pitcher.
Right.
That's crazy. But his point is, well, when is Kobe Mayo? If he's not helping you now, and then next year he has a Jackson Holiday-like year as an everyday play. If it's 2 years from now before Kobe Mayo is the guy that you wanted him to be, then what are you doing? How does that make sense with a timeline of when you're trying to win?
The one question I would ask people is, I watched Jackson Holiday last year, and I watched Kobe Mayo. I still have more confidence that Kobe Mayo will hit right-handed pitching more than I have the confidence that Holiday will master left-handed. Now, I could be wrong. Holiday is a savant, and he still is incredibly young. But he really looked very overmatched by left-handers.
And with the flip side argument being that you don't face as many lefties as you do righties, of course, during the season. So that's
like 70 to 30%.
If you do have to continue platooning Holiday, he's still majority.
He's going to play 70% of the time.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
and pinch hit late in games.
Sure, of course, in those scenarios. And you've got the guy like Jorge Mateo is the guy whose role is to be in those spots, and he's going to play on those days if that continues to be the case for Jackson Holiday. And
it's interesting with Povich. I don't think Povich will be the type of guy to be angry that he's being sent down, and he might actually help the team more if there's a Morton injury or a Rodriguez, if he's starting in a rotation and is ready to hit the ground running.
Than he would as a bullpen arm.
Than as a bullpen arm. But I think he will really make his mark this year.
I know you're bullish about him. I have liked things that I have seen from Cade Povich.
I'm curious what Griffin thinks
you want to go to the expert?
I want to go to the expert.
You want to go to the guy that they don't call him the best color analyst in baseball for nothing?
And could I get a quick weather forecast?
For today? I mean, I think it's going to be. I mean, it's going to be cold.
You're just supposed to say it looks nice now. That's what you're supposed to say.
Well, it doesn't look that nice though, because it's cold and a little bit of windy.
You can't see that looking out the window.
Well, I went outside.
But the point is that you look out the window and give the weather. That was what the bit was.
It looks beautiful today, Stan.
This guy.
I don't know. Probably what is it? Like 70 looks like it right now. And there's a hump. There's a pile of snow right there, but I wouldn't read too much into that.
Would you just hit the music so we can?
I think Cade Povich. I don't think he's on the opening day rotation. Like that's
Steph. I don't. Yeah. I think she's right. I think 100. You didn't bring again short of guys getting hurt, and that is part of the conversation, of course. Yeah. But you didn't bring Sagano in here to not be part of the rotation. He's here. That if he's healthy, he's in the rotation.
But again, what is he making? 1.3. Is
that what it is?
I think it is.
Sounds right.
Carlson is making like 900, and we sort of dismiss that. Sagano, and I'm sure he will prove to be valuable.
Unless he, his guess is pitching lights out in the spring, and they consider
he's making $13 million.
He is making 13.
Sagano? Oh, I thought you were talking.
Oh, that's right.
13.
I got the 1.3 right.
Yeah, okay. Sagano's making $13 million.
Yeah, you didn't bring him from Japan.
He's in the rotation.
Would they consider a 6-man rotation? I guess.
I think eventually they will.
I think most of us were assuming that they were thinking that. They're saying for now, and I get it. Early on in the season, you have those weird off days, and it kind of doesn't.
I think around May 1st, if Povich is pitching well.
I have not looked at the schedule to see. Is there one of those months like they had last year where you don't really have any off days on the schedule?
No, I think in April they've got several off days.
Definitely in April. I'm saying, is there a May, June where it would most make sense?
I don't think it's as bad as last year.
Yeah, last year was crazy.
There's no month that really. It looks like they have about 3 days off every single month.
Okay, so there's no obvious
3 to 4 every month.
But how many in April?
April they have 4 off days.
4 off days?
Yeah. And then four off days in May.
Yeah. I mean, it's
very balanced.
Much more. Last year was really terrible.
June. I'm looking at June sticks out where it looks like they have
there's a stretch in June
probably
where they play from the 10th to the 25th without an off day.
Yeah.
So
what's the weather forecast looking like at trade deadline? Can you look that?
Are you prepared to do the other thing?
Yeah, I am.
All right, it's Friday. We're bringing it back.
This week in the rest of baseball.
This week in the rest of baseball is brought to you by the CIAA Tournament.
That's right. Baltimore is welcoming the excitement of the Food Line CIAA Men's and Women's Basketball Tournament to CFG Bank Arena February 25th through March 1st. Get your tickets. They are available now at Ticketmaster.com. Again, Ticketmaster.com for your tickets to the Food Line CIAA Men's and Women's Basketball Tournament at CFG Bank Arena February 25th through March first.
All right, what's going on?
Where do we want to start this week in baseball, or the rest of baseball? So, of course, over the weekend, we know that the Caribbean Series wrapped with this year's champion. What country?
I
think
Australia.
No.
The Dominican Republic.
The Dominican Republic, of course, won the Caribbean Series over the weekend, so congratulations to Orioles legends Junior Lake, Kelvin Gutierrez.
Hell yeah.
Yamaiko, Yamaiko Navarra. Is that how you pronounce it? But of course, yeah.
Does he wear a yarmulke?
No, it's Yamaiko. I think is how you would.
It might be your Maiko, but it's not my Maiko.
So yeah, congratulations to them, the Caribbean Series with winter baseball. Now we have spring training to look forward to.
Is that all you had?
That's this week and the rest of
Jesus Christ.
Over the weekend as well, Trey Mancini signed a minor league deal with Arizona. I don't think we talked. I guess we didn't.
We didn't really talk about that this week.
With the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, when we talked to Trey a couple weeks ago, he said very clearly he was still holding out hope, even though things hadn't worked out last year, that he would get another opportunity this season, and the Diamondbacks are at least giving him the chance to come to spring training. We'll see. That's the part that we didn't go that much further into. Like, is Trey willing to play in the minors this year to wait and see if there's I don't know those answers, but
I think he's going to know by how he's performing whether he
would
feels
be willing
like
to
would be willing.
if he's really hitting the ball well and they just say, hey, but we don't have room for you, then maybe he says, okay, I'll go ride the bus
if
for
he
a little
feels
while.
that he's hitting well.
Yeah,
you
I
know.
could see that.
So yes, he's in Arizona. So best of luck to Trey. One of the other things making rounds this week, they officially announced the release date for that Red Sox Netflix documentary, The Clubhouse: A Year with the Red Sox, April 8th. And so baseball fans are reacting to that. Obviously, they're like, well, it's the Red Sox. Why do we? I don't know. Why do we care? Because it's the Red Sox. A lot of people were also upset. Why not release it in like January or February when there's no baseball? Why are you releasing it? Right like the first week of baseball, April 8th, and then
just asking people to choose between watching that and watching baseball games.
Yeah.
Yes,
it seemed the clip that they shared was Tristan Casas struggling.
You're not going to get me to care about the Red Sox Netflix show. There will not be.
Tristan Casas just cussing himself out after grounding out.
Sure. I will be spending zero time with
Which
that.
was funny.
If there's a funny clip, then we'll react to it, but there is zero chance that I will choose to watch. And in fairness, like, this is not – I don't watch I only watch Hard Knocks this year because it involved the Ravens to see if we could generate anything interesting Ravens-wise from watching it. And for the most part, we couldn't.
Oh.
Yeah, we could not. It was painfully uninteresting. It was a terrible Hard Knocks season. Although, that said, I haven't watched any of the other ones, so maybe it's like all the other Hard Knocks. Everybody kept trying to tell me how great Hard Knocks was, and I finally watched it, and I'm like, that?
We're not getting an off-season Hard Knocks this year, which still looks disappointing.
Oh, God,
disappointing.
I can barely.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't watch. Did you watch?
I don't.
Go watch last year's stand.
Look,
they need to bring it back.
The amount of people that watch Hard Knocks, no matter who the team is, like, I get that it works. So maybe doing it for baseball will work. I don't know, but there's just no way you can get me to care about Tristan Casas.
I mean, they're going to be looking at last season,
and the Red Sox stunk, and they weren't interested.
Yeah, and also baseball will have started when this comes out. So yeah, and I'm with most other people. I think
their argument is probably that they needed baseball to be back in order to capitalize on that, in order to get the interest. Like, that if you dump it in January, no one cares because no one cares about baseball.
So they might
January,
be able to get some non-diehard, like the diehard baseball fans are like, yeah, we want this in January, but
right,
you're going to be watching. You're going to watch no matter what.
Yeah.
Like, as you mentioned, the Dodgers, they're bringing back all their guys. Of course, Kike Hernandez also returning to L.A. As the Dodgers.
Good. They could use a good baseball player or two. Like, they really haven't had any of those, so you feel good for them.
And then obviously the big news of the week on Wednesday, Alex Bregman signed that 3-year, $120 million deal with the Boston Red Sox with an opt out after this season as well as next season as well. So $40 million a year for Bregman. Interest. I mean, so I don't know if you saw. Nightingale reported that apparently Detroit offered 6 years, $171. So obviously
he's taking essentially a 1-year deal.
Yeah,
that's what he's doing. He's taking a 1-year deal.
How old is Bregman now?
30?
30.
Yeah,
I think
that's what
30.
I was thinking is 30 for Alex Bregman. He's taking a 1-year deal with the
might
hopes
be
that
31. No, he's 30.
He'll turn 31 at the end of March.
Yeah. So he's hoping he has a monster season, and then he can opt out and gets one more chance for a big contract next year. But is there a chance that he ends up regretting the decision to not take the larger deal from Detroit? I guess, although if it's 3 years, right?
Yeah, 3 years. 120, but yeah, you can opt out after this season.
Yeah, I don't really see how this seems pretty much like a no-brainer to me if you're Bregman.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
like so the total difference is $40 million.
50, yeah.
So the
171.
171 over 6 years.
And so
this really seems like
AAV
it's driven by Scott Boras wanting to set, while it's not a record, but it's an amazing AAV.
Yeah, 100%. $40 million bucks for 1 year is
for a guy that's going to be a second baseman. Like that's
that part is weird. Like,
Nick Pivetta signs with the Padres. Of course, we did talk about that. The Padres also. So maybe this is ruling out the Orioles since they got their more outfield depth. Jason Hayward signs with the San Diego Padres this week as well.
I used to be obsessed with Jason Hayward. Like I thought he was a star of stars at one point. Like I thought
kind of
he
was for like a year.
For like a year, yeah. For like a year,
hit the ball far, made some diving catches.
Him and Justin Upton was a guy that I was like, they baseball different than everybody else. Like I just felt that way about those guys, and it just was not.
Also, Jakob Younis signed with with Cleveland last night, so he's off the board. As is Kendall Graveman.
Saw that. He's Arizona, right?
Yes, Kendall Graveman signed with Arizona this morning.
Is he pronounced Jakob?
I
don't know.
Pronounce him is Jacob Younis? Jacob Younis. I like doing the soft J's. Jakob Younis.
Sure.
Sounds like a hockey player.
I'm sure he's gonna,
I just went with it because it totally could have been right. I would have had no idea.
Since he's in Cleveland, I'm sure he'll throw 150 innings.
Almost certainly.
And have a 2.5 ERA. Yep. But yeah, good for Younis, I guess. So the top free agents still out there: Jose Quintana, Andrew Heaney, as Stan already mentioned today. Justin Turner is still out there. Alex Verdugo among the top available free agents.
You would still be interested in Heaney?
I would still be interested in Heaney, yeah.
It's funny because I've seen people say I'd be interested in Heaney, but only as a reliever. And
I mean,
I don't know if Andrew Heaney's at that point where he would be willing to consider it. I have no idea, but
I think at this point on a 1-year deal, I think he'd consider pretty much anything.
I guess that's a good transition then, because earlier this morning our long national nightmare ended. Marcus Stroman returned back to reported to spring training after holding out for 2 days.
Thank God.
With the Yankees.
Very nice.
Technically, it was not a holdout, though.
Yeah, I know. Well,
he didn't have to report.
He didn't have to report.
He doesn't have to report until the 22nd, actually, by the MLB.
Oh,
yeah,
maybe so I guess
by
the
the
Yankees wanted
MLB
him
players
on Wednesday, and he didn't. But anyway, he is back this morning. He came in today.
I don't know if I ever knew that.
Yeah,
I thought
I didn't know it.
I thought pitchers and catchers report meant
but
you've got to be there.
But they have. I've read about it and heard about it.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
He came in today, Stan, wearing a Duke Blue Devils T-shirt for you. I think that was exactly.
Who he came in?
Yeah. It's this morning. But he started. So he did say though, if he's not traded, he will absolutely not pitch out of the bullpen. He seems a little unhappy in New York right now.
A high-level game of chicken.
That's pretty much it. College baseball is back this weekend. Yes. So which SEC team will win it this year? After
it hasn't always been SEC teams. Coastal Carolina won a title 1 year.
Recent memory, it is all.
It's not
recent
all
history.
SEC. Yeah, the SEC is normally the best baseball conference for sure, but it's not all.
Okay, who's winning it this year then?
Probably an SEC team.
Okay,
I do agree with that.
Who won it last year?
I don't remember. I have no idea.
Texas A&M lost
to Vanderbilt.
No.
To LSU.
No.
To.
I guess we'll do this. Yeah.
It's because they lost to Arkansas.
Nope.
No, it was Alabama. Everybody knows that.
Not
it was Mississippi State.
It was not Mississippi
because it was Ole Miss.
Nope.
That's because it was Florida.
Keep going.
Texas.
Nope. Last year, technically not an SEC team.
Oh,
Texas.
for Christ's sakes! You're very misleading.
No. I mean, Texas wasn't an SEC team last year.
My
now they will be. Yeah.
Wait.
It was an SEC team
last year.
last year.
Last year they were still in the Big 12. Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about it that way. So how many? Tennessee.
Hey! 2024 college baseball.
Got there eventually.
Champions, World Series champions. But yeah, I guess one of the other big Rintaro Sasaki will be certainly one to watch coming over from Japan, as he's Japan's all-time high school home run king. He made kind of the unprecedented decision
to play college baseball, so he wouldn't have to go through
he bypassed Japan's NPB draft, and he's enrolled at Stanford, so he'll be playing at Stanford. He'll turn 21 next spring, so he will be. He is eligible for the draft after his sophomore year.
There is something to be said for, like, that system doesn't work. that like Sasaki could only make so much money, and they're gonna have to figure that out because again, there's gonna be more of this.
Yeah.
Like there's gonna be more guys say, well, I'm not going to go this route because then if I am good, you're limiting how much money I can make in the major leagues. So I could see more of that being the case.
Yeah, because and he would have had to wait. I don't know how long.
So I'm doing
But
this.
Rentaro Sasaki from
6 of the last 9 College World Series winners in the SEC. That means a third of them
like a
are
trend.
A third of them are not. That's what that means.
Seems like
Griffin.
a trend there.
A third of them not SEC teams in the last decade. So now, how do you feel?
I still feel pretty good about my statement.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you?
I think it's going to be an SEC team probably.
We'll see. Is that it?
Yeah, that was this
I
week.
think both Maryland and Towson are playing an event down in South Carolina this
That sounds
weekend,
right.
But they're not
Yeah.
playing against each other.
They're
They're both there.
South Carolina College Baseball Capital.
They're both. I think it's Charleston or something like Myrtle Beach.
Oh,
one of
they're
those
both, like,
places.
in Charleston?
They're both there. It's at the same event. Like there's an event hosting both teams.
Oh, really?
But they're not playing
okay.
against each other during the course of the event, if I understand.
Where it's the Swig and
Swig and
Swine.
Swine, yeah, which sounds great by
It
the way.
does.
I'm all in. Hey, I'd love it, but yeah.
Cool. They're playing UMES in Hagerstown. Towson is next.
How about
week.
that? How about that? All right, very good. That's this week in the
Jeez,
rest
they
of
have
the
a home game in February. Towson will.
Was it a Tuesday?
Wednesday, February 26th.
Yeah, sure. It's a midweek game. Yeah, I mean,
it's
what
just,
are you gonna do? You got to get in order to get those midweek games.
They just normally avoid these because
I understand, but if you're gonna get them in, you can't fly to Florida for a midweek game. It doesn't work that way.
I know, but
got to play it. All right, that's this week in the rest of baseball. Thank you, Griffin. We'll be doing that every Friday, obviously, between now and, at least when football comes back.
I have to sit through that every Friday?
Every Friday. Well,
is there any shot I could
maybe
change?
you could add something to it. Maybe you could offer a tip.
I thought it was Griffin's.
You can, but we engage on the topics.
Oh, okay.
Remember, hopefully there'll be more topic-driven, things like that moving forward. We've worked with this with Griffin in the past, but this week, this week in the rest of baseball.
I can't move to Thursdays.
We've got other big segments on Thursdays. He does fighting words on
fighting
Thursdays.
words. You have to sit through that one as well, Stan.
You could be
But
here.
I am the Grand Poobah.
You could be on here on Wednesday for
I'm
Drew
the chief-
Forrester's NASCAR segment, though. Rubbin's Racing. With our NASCAR guy, Drew Forrester.
But I am
and
the
NBA.
chief. I am the chief.
You're still the chief
Grand
Grand Poobah, understood. But we got to do. It's that time of year, dog. We got to do. Football's over. Doing our segments. Come back in, get a tidbit and two to wrap it up. It's a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
You're going to love February at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Sweeten your Valentine's Day with a chocolate bar February 13th and 14th. Pamper yourself and your partner with Valentine's Day spa discounts February 10th through 21st. Celebrate the Year of the Snake and win a Lunar New Year luxury brand collection February 28th. Plus more ways to play, dine, and win all month. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at DriveEasyMD.com.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their amazingly scrumptious, fat, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. Every season is crab season at Costas, so make your plans now by calling 410-477-1975 and reserve your taste of heaven. Sit back, crack some crabs, and watch the Ravens chase down another title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday nights, Costas offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30, and there are nightly specials Monday through Friday. So head on down to the Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at CostasInn.com.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
COVID-19 and flu viruses are circulating in Maryland. But don't worry, protection is within arm's reach. Protect your health with this year's COVID-19 and flu shots. It's safe and convenient to get them both at the same time. Flex your protection. For more information, visit health.maryland.gov/vaccines.
This message paid for by the Maryland Department of Health.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here and winding down for a Friday edition of the program. Stan's here. You got plans for the show next week, Stan?
Do I have plans for
your show?
Oh, my shows.
Yes.
Luke and I are talking about doing something with the coach of Harford Community College, the baseball coach, on Monday. And I'm still looking to try and find somebody to grab for Wednesday.
All right. We will look forward to whatever that is when you do it.
Even if I just grab somebody off the street?
Even if you're just talking to a guy. Just
How about a gal?
Hey, man. No, not interested. Sorry, not interested.
How about a hot
whatsoever.
gal?
Well, now let's talk. How hot? Sorry, it's Valentine's Day, baby. No, not interested at all. Love you. Love you. You know what we're doing? You know what we're doing for Valentine's Day?
Nothing.
Absolutely
Nothing.
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 Did bring her a card, though, didn't you?
Got her a card. Have flowers on the way today, and we're going to go out to dinner next Friday is the plan because
it's too crowded tonight.
Right? Well, actually, we were never going to get together tonight. We were going to do tomorrow night, and then, tomorrow night turned into she wouldn't be able to go out until, 8:30 or something like that. So we just decided we got our son's got basketball playoffs this weekend.
Oh, basketball.
Yeah, big weekend for the boys. So we just decided next Friday night would be a perfectly fine night to do Valentine's Day. So that's when we're going to do it next Friday night. So if you all are scoring at home, and I assume that you are, so just keep that in mind.
Where are you going?
Nope, we can't have a paparazzi situation on our hands. I do love the Costas Inn. You know that's true. All right.
So romantic.
It is. That's what people are always saying. Like when you put the paper down and then you dump the crabs out, they're like, that is the height of.
Well, you love your crabs.
It's my love language. Yeah.
I don't blame you. All right, let's get a tidbit. Tidbit is brought to you by the Brigance Brigade. 1 week from tonight, the Winter Soiree at Martin's West. Get your tickets right now, brigancebrigade.org, to help them with all of the incredible work that they do for those that are fighting ALS.
Juju Watkins as USC knocked off UCLA last night.
Undefeated.
Yeah.
Done.
38 points for Juju Watkins. She had over half of their points. They scored 70, I think, and she had 38, or they scored 73, something like that. She had over half of USC's points, 38, 11 rebounds, 8 blocks. She made 6 threes, had 5 assists. She is the first player, is the only player in NBA, WNBA, or Division I history this century to have a game with 35 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, at least 5 blocks, and at least 5 three-mades. And she did it against, as you said, the last undefeated in college basketball, number 1 ranked UCLA. So USC, obviously a force to be reckoned with in, of course, the Big Ten, as we all know.
Right, yes.
Yeah, Big Ten powerhouse.
Big Ten showdown last night between USC and UCLA.
With Kershaw coming back to the Dodgers, and of course them signing Blake Snell earlier in the offseason, they look to be the 10th duo of multi-time Cy Young Award-winning teammates in MLB history.
10th duo of multi-time Cy Young winning
so
teammates.
both guys with at least two Cy Young Awards and teammates on the same team. How many of you should be able to name the other duos.
How many are there?
There are 9 other duos.
How about Palmer and Cuellar?
Too far back.
In the last how many years?
Well, no, it is all time, but they had to have gotten 2 Cy Youngs and our teammates. 1986 was the first time this happened.
When?
1986.
Clemens. 86?
No.
No, do any of them involve Clemens?
No, Clemens not involved.
Okay. So how about
a lot of guys are repeats.
Maddox and Glavine?
Yes, Maddox and Glavine for 3 straight years. Yeah, we're teammates.
And there's 9 of these pairs.
Yes.
Did Smoltz ever win? He didn't win 2 Cy Youngs, did he?
No.
Okay.
Or at least he's not involved in one of these.
All right then.
They had to have had their 2 Cy Young. They both have already had to have had 2 Cy Youngs.
Is Dave Stewart involved?
No Dave Stewart.
Jack Morris.
No Jack Morris.
So
since you got Glavine and Maddox, you have the 86 duo. All the others are on this side of 2000.
It's 86, and everybody else is in the 2000s. Yeah. 86. But they didn't have. These people didn't have to win the Cy Young in 86. They were just teammates.
Yeah,
in
they
86.
were. They both
That's
had
what
already
makes
had.
this so tricky.
Yeah.
Because I happen to know that Clemens won the Cy Young in 86, so that's why I went there. So it had to be somebody that
had have already won. Yeah.
I'm still confused as to why. What year did this start?
This is the first time that this occurred, that you had two teammates pitching on the same team with two Cy Youngs.
I think Cuellar never won a second Cy Young.
Yeah.
He only won one. Yeah.
Okay.
Each guy had to have had two Cy Youngs. So Kershaw and Snow count.
Randy Johnson? No.
No Randy.
Just trying to think of guys that I know that won multiple Cy Youngs. That's the problem with this list. Verlander?
Verlander, yes.
Scherzer?
Verlander and Scherzer with the 2023 Mets, correct.
Is there another one, or is that...
Verlander also... actually, that's the only one Verlander is involved with.
So Scherzer's
involved with several others.
Scherzer and... God.
Scherzer and Strasburg? No, Strasburg never won two Cy Young awards.
Scherzer and DeGrom?
Scherzer and DeGrom, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, twice. So that actually knocks out two of the pairs because they were on the 2022 Mets, and now they are teammates, or they were teammates on the Rangers.
Teammates on the Rangers. So that counts twice?
Yes.
Okay. So we're up to 4 out of 9.
Yes. Yeah, you're up to 4 out of 5 out of 9.
Did Pedro Martinez win a second? He won 2, right?
Yeah. 4 out of 9. Pedro Martinez did have 2.
And he's on here with...
He's on here a few times, actually.
He's on here a few times.
Yes.
Huh? He's on there with... God.
Also with a guy that we've already named.
The guy we've already named? DeGrom.
No. Pedro? Pedro and DeGrom, not teammates.
That's right. Pedro and...
We already named that he was teammates with.
Pedro so it has to be in Boston, right?
With the guy with the not. Well, I mean, he is on there with one other guy in Boston, but not the guy we already named.
It's not Schilling, or else it would have been Randy Johnson and Schilling. Multiple Cy Youngs pitched in Boston. Multiple Cy Youngs and pitched in Boston.
Clemens?
No, you already said it's not involving Clemens.
Not involving Clemens.
The Boston guy we have not named yet. The other Boston guy.
The other Boston guy. Then the other one was in Montreal.
Not Montreal.
So it was in. Then you got to remember all the L.A. Was that? The hell else did Pedro?
He pitched for L.A., Montreal, Boston, and the Mets.
The Mets.
Santana?
Yeah, Johan Santana is one of them. He was also another guy on the Mets that. Probably
another guy on
the back end of his career. Yeah.
I gotta remember.
Dwight Gooden?
No.
A guy who went to the Mets, the back end of his career in the 2000s, that won multiple Cy Youngs. God damn.
And we already named. This is the guy we already named.
We already named him.
Yeah.
But you told me.
I forget what I told you. I guess I don't know.
Forget about what you told me.
Is it so? What the hell, man? We've already named him because everybody I said were they involved with one, and you said no. So then, how could we have already named him?
I thought he was the first one that you guys got.
Clemens.
No, not Clemens.
First one that we got?
Yeah, the first one that you got.
Was the Braves.
Yeah.
Who ended up? Oh, Glavine.
Glavine and Martinez.
Okay.
With the Mets.
All right. Yeah.
Well done.
Jesus, this is an adventure.
We still got
all right, so
three more to go?
Scherzer's got one more. Scherzer's got one more. And then Pedro's got one more. And then we have the 86.
Scherzer's got one more. Pedro's got one more.
This guy, maybe a stop that you forgot that Scherzer made.
Maybe a stop that I forgot that Scherzer made.
Yeah.
Washington.
Where do you go after that?
He was a Dodger.
Mm-hmm. So
Kershaw?
Yeah, so Scherzer and Kershaw in 2021.
Wow.
All right.
And then Pedro
in Montreal.
Not Montreal. It was Boston. I'll give that to you.
It was in Boston. Pedro in Boston with...
God, I cannot think of who.
Who else has won multiple Cy Youngs? Pedro in Boston. So, again, this is late 90s, early 2000s.
Have we mentioned this guy?
You have not mentioned this guy.
And he won multiple Cy Youngs.
He didn't win them with the Red Sox.
Well, I figured that much. Thanks for nothing.
Schilling?
No.
Who else won multiple Cy Youngs? They were just so dominated by the same couple of guys for a few years. It's hard to. I don't know.
He threw a no-hitter in August of 1991 with the Kansas City Royals.
Brett Saberhagen?
Oh. Brett Saberhagen. Yes, Saberhagen and Pedro in 2001 with the Red Sox.
I didn't realize that Brett Saberhagen was still. All right, anyway.
Still won.
I also forgot that he won multiple Cy Young awards, to be honest with you.
And then in 1986, the first duo to achieve this feat. It's not even really.
It wasn't Jim Palmer.
It happened. Yeah, not Palmer. 86.
Danny McClain involved?
This happened in 86?
Yes, but they won the Cy Youngs before that.
Yeah, they won the Cy Youngs before 86.
Okay, but
both
they
of them
appeared
had
as teammates in 86.
Steve Carlton?
Steve Carlton.
Where was he in 86?
Yeah, where was he?
Still in Philadelphia, or is he gone from Philadelphia?
Jack
at that point?
Morris.
Not Jack Morris.
Tom Seaver?
Tom Seaver and Steve Carlton in
Cincinnati.
Chicago. White Sox.
That's what I meant.
White Sox.
Chicago.
With the Chicago White Sox, yes. Carlton and Seaver.
Christ.
Well done. That was painless.
Yeah, that was painless. Had root canals that were more pleasant.
Thanks, Sarah Langs, for that one.
God damn.
Kershaw and Snell become the 10th duo to do that.
Let's do the other thing. For God's sakes, get it over with.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
All right, here's what's coming up this weekend, totally tubular-wise. Tonight, not a lot. Maryland baseball opens the season. What?
Celebrity All-Star Game?
Yeah, okay. Tonight is the SNL
Celebrity
music,
All-Star
the 50th anniversary music thing is tonight on Peacock.
Coach Jerry Rice versus Coach Barry Bonds.
Yeah, we're not going to keep pretending like that's the thing. Tomorrow, busy day. Army-Navy, 1:30 on CBS Sports Network. The women play before that, Army-Navy-wise. ESPN Plus tomorrow, Hopkins Loyola Lacrosse at noon. UMBC Bryant basketball at 1. Loyola American basketball at 4. Coppin North Carolina Central basketball at 4. Plus the Charm and the Whip Snakes both play in the champion, but it's over. The Whip Snakes. Yeah, they're done.
Yeah,
They've been eliminated from the
weekend,
championship series, so he's kind of despondent about it and not really doing the whole thing.
Jeez, Whiz, I'm so sorry.
Flow Sports tomorrow, UMBC
rough
Drexel
morning.
Lacrosse at 12, Monmouth Towson Hoops at 2. Yes, Towson getting their 11th straight win last night. We'll try to make it 12 with a quick turnaround tomorrow at home. Morgan State, South Carolina State in Hoops tomorrow at 4. And Big Ten Network Plus, big one, Syracuse, Maryland lacrosse tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Unfortunately, you'd have to pay to watch it or get down to College Park in order to do that. And everything else tomorrow you can find at glennclarkradio.com. The dunk contest used to be a thing. They couldn't get Caitlin Clark or Sabrina Ionescu to compete, so nobody really seems to care about anything that's happening tomorrow night for All-Star Saturday night on TNT or True TV. On Sunday, Maryland, Iowa, 5 o'clock on Fox Sports 1 down in College Park. Towson Navy lacrosse at noon on ESPN Plus on Sunday. And, of course, the Daytona 500. Can't miss that. Sunday at 2:30 on Fox. The All-Star Game, if you hate yourself, is Sunday night at 8 o'clock on TNT, True TV, and TBS. Because what we needed is more places to watch. And it's also convoluted, and you can't possibly understand the format. So it was bad, and now it's bad and confusing. So they've got that going for them, which is something. And then the Five Nations hockey tournament continues this weekend as well, if that's something that you're inclined to spend time with. It's the U.S. and Canada tomorrow night on ABC at 8 o'clock.
Can I include 2 videos from AOL that are pretty staggering?
I'm not sure they qualify for tubular, but you could tell us about them if you'd like.
There's 2 just absolutely amazing things. One of them is a humpback whale. What's it called? Is that it? Yeah, anyway, it comes up out of nowhere in Alaska. Everything happens in Alaska. I don't think I want to go to Alaska anymore.
I think I'm good. I think I'm all right.
A kayaker gets swallowed in whole.
No, it was,
this
Chile.
whale
It was
just-
Chile. It was Chile.
It was Chile?
Yeah, it was the coast of Chile.
Oh.
The Chilean,
Never mind.
It was the Chilean Sea.
Well,
Wait, is there another whale?
This is a whale of a story. Anyway, this whale comes up out of nowhere, like comes up and swallows. It didn't come up and then go swallow him. It comes up and the guy's in his mouth.
Okay.
In this whale's mouth.
Okay.
And somehow, miraculously, the kayaker gets spit out. He must not have tasted good or something like that. It gets spit out. There's a video of it. It's amazing.
I just played it. Everyone can see
Then,
it.
I tell you where I got confused. There's another video on AOL.com of an Alaskan hiker stumbles upon two bald eagles tangled in tree in jaw-dropping video. And Glenn, I said off the air that it was a death swoon. It's called a death spiral.
Ah.
It's a fanciful name for a behavior eagles will engage in where they lock talons and tumble down from the sky, usually letting go before they hit the ground. While this can be actual combat tactic used in territorial disputes, it's more commonly done as a courtship ritual for determining the fitness of your mate.
For what it's worth, this is actually also how my wife and I met.
Really?
Yeah. It was
you did a death spiral.
It was, I got to see.
Were you parachuting?
Is she fit to be my mate or not, Stan?
Yeah. And what did you find out?
I chose, obviously I married her. We got 2 kids.
Okay, great.
She didn't die.
And you were fit for being her mate as well.
Correct.
Because you fathered 2 children.
Decided that it was worth it.
Anyway, this video is unbelievable. You don't see the hiker, but you see the video of his dog. It's like a German Shepherd or something comes up to the eagles. And then all of a sudden this eagle goes, one of the 2 that's locked in the tree, they eventually got loose on their own because people were saying, why didn't the guy help them? Do you see what their talons are like?
Yeah,
I'm not helping those
I'm
eagles.
good. I'm with you on that.
Right.
I'm good.
The dog comes up. He's like sort of barking a little bit and sniffing. And then this eagle like swoops like this. And the dog backs off and starts barking from a distance. But it's an amazing video. Absolutely.
All right, share it with me. We'll put it out there.
Okay.
We'll get it there. This SNL stuff certainly highlights non-sports this
Yeah,
weekend.
it does. The SNL stuff. There are a few other things.
Sunday night is the special on NBC at 8
Yes,
o'clock. And
yes,
then tonight
the
is the concert on
the
Peacock.
anniversary.
So 3-hour special?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. And the other, so the Rising Stars is tonight as well. Pat Spencer is on Team Jeremy Lin.
Great.
What do you mean great?
I mean,
the team to watch, the team I'll be betting on is Team M, coached by Mitch Richmond. They have the Thompson twins. They have Bilal Coulibaly, Bub Carrington, Scoot Henderson. They're the best. They're the team to beat for sure. Then also on Sunday, Tubi will have the G League Up Next games. Jameer Young will be playing on Team Braxton. So make sure you check those out. It starts at 3:30 on Sunday. Don't worry, I'll add it. Don't worry.
Definitely won't.
There are several non-sports. Severance, of course, new episode of that. The Gorge, the Miles Teller.
White Lotus is back this
weekend. Yeah, White Lotus
right?
is back.
The Gorge starts, yeah.
Yeah, the Gorge. Which
But
one do you want to start
Is
with?
White Lotus streaming? Like, are they all the episodes? Because I thought that would be a week-to-week thing, and then I was looking at it, and they had them all listed as Sunday. Like
Every episode's going to be on.
That doesn't make
There's
sense.
no way.
I don't think so. But
I believe it's not going to be available. The first episode of season 3 will not be available until Sunday at 9.
Listen, I searched White Lotus season 3 last night, and this is what Google gave me: season 3, episode 1, February 16th; season 3, episode 2, February 16th. Stan, you can corroborate.
It's just the first 2 episodes.
No,
or
then
all
season
9 or 10
episode
or
3, February. You can corroborate. They have them all listed as February 16th.
Right.
Now that can't be right. This is a show. Like, they've got to be doing it every Sunday.
They got to drop it every week.
Yeah, I can't imagine they're like putting all the episodes on Max and then just airing episodes every week. But I don't know, man. I don't know what to make of that.
Also, next week, the 20th, season 3 of the Amazon Prime Video series Reacher, which I like.
Excited
Reacher.
about Reacher. Yeah. What else? White Lotus. Who's on? Walton Goggins is on White Lotus this season.
Of course.
God, I cannot get enough Walton Goggins in
Walton
my
Goggins
life.
is-
He rules.
So the Gorge movie on Apple TV as well looks pretty good. Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy. They're like, they're in these guard towers and they're like trying to apparently, I don't know. It looks
on
good.
the opposite
they're
sides
on opposite.
of the gorge.
They're not supposed to talk to each other, but it's like it's Anya Taylor-Joy over there. What am I supposed to do? Not try to talk to Anya Taylor-Joy?
That's a great point. Right.
And there's secrets in the gorge, and we're gonna find out
They're
whatever's
trying to
down
play
there.
chess across the gorge.
They do actually. Yeah,
no, they don't.
They do.
Yeah,
That's
they
literally
do
in the
play
trailer.
chess
That is literally
across
in the
the
trailer.
gorge.
It's like Rook up 4. And they're like writing messages.
That's a little homage to
Yeah,
the
a
Queen's
bit,
Gambit.
Oh, okay, of course. Love is Blind season 8 on Netflix, of course, today as well. Yellow Jackets.
But I couldn't because I missed seasons 1 through 7.
No,
so
I
how
think
could
you
I
just
possibly
jump in.
catch? How can I just catch up with the
You
plot?
can just jump in.
Just
Yeah,
jump in.
I don't know.
Jump in. Season 3 of the Yellow Jackets also if you have Paramount Plus with Showtime.
People say that's really good. I've never spent
It
time
looks
with the Yellow
good.
Jackets.
It's like
I thought it all
it's like
started
Lord
with
of the
like they were
Flies.
eating each other or something.
Yeah, I think it's
that.
like Lord of the
How is
Flies,
this
but
show
like it was like a
about?
girls'
What
soccer
is Yellow
team.
Jackets about?
It's a girls' soccer team that got like stranded or something.
Yeah, like in
right?
the mountains.
But how could they still be doing 3 seasons of it? Is my question.
I think they're like also looking. I think the way I'd never watched it.
Okay, then you're maybe not the person.
But I thought like the way it worked was like they are like there's like survivors and we're kind of like looking at the way they remembered it and then like they're kind of showing what actually happened. I don't know. Also, the season 1 finale of Dexter: Original Sin on Paramount Plus with Showtime. Ends up evidently just a pretty busy weekend. Equalizer's back.
Well, it's
so
the
is
first weekend after
Tracker.
the Super Bowl, so it's like now.
Of
now
course,
let's try to do stuff.
Of course, season 23 premiere of Family Guy on Fox Sunday night. They're going head to head with SNL 50.
Sadly, I'm going to miss that one.
Grimsburg
with
season
all
2.
due respect to Queen Latifah, The Equalizer is so bad compared to the originals.
I just can't believe you ever spent time with it.
Well, it's The Equalizer.
It's The Equalizer, man.
Also going head to head with SNL 50.
Are we good? Can we say
Oh,
everything
Talladega. If you missed the Daytona 500, Talladega Nights will be showing on CW at 7:30.
Probably going to be my choice. All right, we good? Can we wrap?
Please.
Please.
Video of the dachshund.
We got to get the
very
dachshund.
cute dachshund on
Gotta get that.
AOL.
Thanks today to Danielle Allentuck. Thanks to Richard Bleier and to Shon Morris. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the
Can You Take Me Higher?
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. I'm on 105.7 Sunday 12 to 2 and then Monday morning 6 to 9. I don't know if we're doing a show on Monday or not because, again, my kids got the basketball playoffs.
Ooh.
And so
They're scheduling 4 Presidents Day?
Yeah. So
Are you coaching?
I don't coach, but I kind of like help.
Water boy?
Like they've got, and I don't know who's available. Like of the coaches,
you erase the whiteboard?
You're like the water
no,
boy?
I'm
He erases
like,
the whiteboard.
If for some reason one of the coaches isn't there, I'll wander. Like it's one of those deals.
Coach G, the revival.
Yeah, the revival of Coach G. God, that's a pull. But yeah, so I don't know yet if we're doing a show on Monday or not. But I'll definitely be over on 105.7 Monday morning. With
where do we go to see the boys' championship?
Oh yeah, it's I think ICS is where it would be.
Okay.
So you can come over and join us for that. And then the Bat Around now, Sunday, 5 o'clock for the Bat Around with Paul Valley. And I think Zach Moore is going to be part of that. So make sure you check that out on Sunday at 5. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel, Cruise Maryland, Crown Trophy, Easy Pass, Royal Farms, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, the CIAA Tournament, Costas Inn, MSAA, Maryland Sports, Brigance Brigade, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. And follow Stan at Stan the Fan. Have a great weekend. Go all the local teams. Duke sucks.